There we go. It still works. It still works even after a month of being offline. We're in standby right now. We are in standby, but we are live. Hello. So it's just me on audio right now. I don't think we can hear Frosty. We are waiting on the third position, who's going to be Evie, Ev Woof. But we'll ask him what he prefers when he gets here, because apparently he was saying that it was supposed to be Ev, but everybody says Evie. I see your mouth moving, but I can't hear you. Is this a me problem or is this a you problem? Check the input for Discord. I would set the input for Discord to the Oculus microphone.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you now. Welcome to the stream. Hello. Thanks for calling in.
Hi.
So what is your opinion on the state of the furry fandom?
Oh no, I'm not prepared for this at all.
What is your opinion on the state of the furry fandom?
The furry
As a
fandom
woman.
is crumbling
As
as
an
we speak.
AFAB woman.
As an AFAB woman. Yeah, no, it's
I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. We're not there yet. We are still in stand. We are standbying right now, and I'm kind of freaking out because I guess Ev just came in and like things are loading.
yeah.
But yeah, stream output looks good. Now we just need Ev in the Discord. If you can hear us, if you can hear me through VR chat, get into the Discord group. I set up a new Discord group, but you will have to change the inputs on the Discord microphone. He's T-posing. He's T-posing over there. Oh no. Oh no, he's about to full body track us. Do you want to be like naked as opposed to like 18 plus NSFW? I can't hear you, by the way. So if you are speaking, which I see your mouth moving over there, I can't hear you. Hababa.
It's like really quiet, but
Well, he needs to be in the Discord
yeah,
call.
you need to
I have
jump in the
no
Discord.
Yeah, I have no audio coming out of VR chat. But we should play some music. We should play some music while we wait. Woo.
Okay, the camera's like, oh shit. The camera's right there, right? Like right there.
What? You are perfectly in the frame. Like you're literally in the middle of the frame.
I know what I'm saying, it's like right there, right?
Yeah, as long as you look like that way, like directly in front of you, like the camera's
Okay, cool.
directly pointed at you.
Perfect.
Oh my god. Oh my god. Um it's so hard to look through my nose hole. I
I've
hate
gotten
it.
really used to it.
I hate it. No thanks. No thanks. Is it time? We're at 10:35, so we're like 5 minutes behind. That's okay. That's okay though. Oh no, I blanked out of my screen. I'm gonna end up blowing out my my ears, aren't I?
Let me, while you're doing that, I'm gonna pull up chat.
That rhythm.
Oh hey, he figured it out. I heard myself. Where's that coming from?
Probably me. Who makes the worst tacos?
Who makes the worst tacos? Did you see that on like Twitter or something?
Good
No, wait.
Mythical Morning.
Yeah, I was gonna say I
Yeah.
did see Rhett and Link fucking video about tacos. It had
They
like
compared,
Jack in the
Taco Bell.
Box.
Yeah.
Yeah, Jack in the Box, Taco Bell, and like I can't remember the other one. Like On the Border or something.
Apparently Chipotle. I didn't know Chipotle makes tacos.
Oh yeah, they do.
Interesting. I might have to try it. Where is... I can hear you in game, but...
We need you in the Discord chat.
Oh, he doesn't know where the chat is. It's,
I made it's a new group with you specifically in it. It should be at the top.
We should have used the Discord group.
No, there is a Discord group. This call is a Discord group.
Well, yeah. But no, I'm saying, like... There you go. You're in.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, cool. So do I need to mute audio in here somehow?
No, it's fine. I can't, like, I have no audio coming out of VR chat, so it's not like I'm gonna hear it twice.
Oh, I am. That's what I'm trying to fix.
Yeah, you can mute,
All voices. Like, mute all voices.
Okay, I think I just fixed it.
Why do you
Okay,
sound
sorry
like
about
you're
that.
calling in from, like, Minnesota?
I don't know. My microphone?
My microphone.
You can hear me, though, so that's all that matters.
Yes, that is correct. So you need to be sitting in that chair right there. That is your designated chair right there. So you
Let's
can
see if I can make this
actually
happen.
interact with it. You don't have to
can?
simulate. Yeah, you don't have to
Oh.
simulate a.
It's not
Go in.
interactable.
Go and make sure that your colliders are on.
Over there in the
where's
menu.
that at?
Over there at the
Yeah.
beginning. Oh wow!
Yeah, mine were off. Let's see. Can I make this bigger?
It's the seating. The seating was off.
Yeah, that's the colliders.
The colliders were on.
Yeah, but there's different types of colliders.
Oh, well, they had it as a separate setting. Okay, why can I not?
Oh hey, you just
Colliders.
closed the blinds. Now I can't see the great vistas.
Oh. I didn't even know
Sorry.
you could move those.
Wait.
Evie is freaking out over there.
Yeah, okay, I'm sitting. Why am I not actually sitting?
Is it because of your third-party adjusted height?
I don't know. It shouldn't be.
Yeah, you are floating.
See, that should be...
Is he at least in frame?
No, like his top of his head is like chopped off.
Oh.
Sorry, I've not had to do any of this before.
Do you do the thingy with your hand where you like mess with the physics?
What?
No,
What about the physics?
You don't know what I'm talking about.
No, I don't.
There's an like a third-party app that people use where it they kind of use like hand tracking to like control their height manually.
Interesting.
Luna does it all the fucking time. That's why you see Luna floating and flying around.
Oh, I think that's just from the avatar itself.
No,
Yeah, I thought this avatar had something for that.
no, it's a third-party thing. You manually control your X axis. Wait, no, I'm sorry, your Y. You manually control the Y axis.
I have seen that in something.
Yeah, like some have it pre-built into the little wheel thing.
Some do, most don't.
Yeah.
But it's a third-party extension that people can install for VR chat.
Pop up chat.
If I just... No, if I actually go to the floor, it'll like twist the body up because it can't track.
We're on standby, guys, so this means we're troubleshooting, technical troubleshooting, per the usual.
Sorry.
I honestly don't know how you ended up messing with it. Are you able to stand like a normal person?
Should be.
Oh, it's probably because the tracking is making it all weird.
Yeah, something's... I'm going to move to the middle of the room real quick. I'm hitting like everything in the room.
Oh, you know, that's probably exactly what's going on.
Yeah, because we don't really have that problem.
Yeah, I've got the room set up for like me not being by the computer because I already punched the screen once.
Uh-oh. Are you ready to like DDR dance? Like
Yeah, I can just do this. Does this work for you?
I mean, you need to be where that chair is. That works for me. That's funny.
Okay. Am I low enough?
Just scoot forward.
I wonder if it's better if he turns the colliders off. And then he just scoots up close to the table.
Probably.
Would that work?
Yeah. Wow, we are learning things. Things that we should have learned like months ago. Like a year ago.
This platform is not ready for mass public. If there's that many questions on how to do things.
Are you kneeling on the floor right now?
Yes, I am.
Oh,
because it's got the full tracking.
Oh no.
I mean, I could switch to desktop mode. Should I just do desktop mode? I don't know why this is so ridiculous. Like, why can I not even sit in the chair? I can usually sit in a chair.
Now you're standing on the chair.
Yeah, it doesn't even make sense. Like, why can I not even sit in a chair?
Oh, the struggle. You're like sitting on the top edge of the chair, like on the back.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense. I know I've done the height adjustment before, but that was probably a different avatar.
Yeah, it's probably a different avatar. You ended up shutting off colliders? Like you can ghost through things now?
I think so.
No, it would be your walking. Try to walk through the table.
Like that?
Okay, yeah. Like you are at the perfect sitting position right there. Like literally just turn around.
And then don't sit in the actual chair.
Yes, do not sit in the chair. A little bit more, get closer. Woo! Perfect, you did it! Woo!
I just had to take it.
Woo! Woo! It only took us like 10 minutes of Evie going crazy.
Sorry, this is new to me.
Is it new? Oh, okay.
New enough.
So let's get started. I'm gonna turn on the music. Music's too crazy in the background. Actually, let's just turn off music altogether, because this is supposed to be more of like a serious conversation space, like a sort of kind of think tankish. So yeah, let's get this started. Welcome to Woof Radio. I am your host, Nitro Wolf. In second, we have Frosty the Arctic Wolf, as per the usual. Today we have Ev Wolf joining us in third. What do you prefer we call you, Ev or Evie?
Doesn't matter, Ev usually, but doesn't really matter.
Frosty, could you turn down your speakers a little bit? I'm getting feedback from you.
Hold on.
Okay, but anyways, welcome to the show. If you're listening in, that's great. This is more of a podcast style show. Like, you don't have to be looking at us. The video is just here for your visual enrichment if you want to look at something, but it's not required. It's more about the listening and thinking and self-reflecting and seeing what you can take out of it.
Is this better?
You just gonna interrupt me?
I'm
okay,
just asking.
So yeah, it's fine. I heard myself, but that's fine. So we're gonna do the usual, where I'm gonna do a 10 to 15 minute monologue and just speak what's on my mind based on the topic I've chosen. For today's topic, that's gonna be a continuation of authenticity. Somebody did ask me to speak more about authenticity, so that's going to be a tie-in, but it's not fully what the focus is today. So the full focus of today is the current state of the furry fandom as we see it from social media. So here we have a couple perspectives. My perspective is, I would say, AMAB, bisexual furry who's been a lifetime furry, Frosty who's AFAB, who has also been a lifetime furry, and then we have Evie, who is you can say it yourself. You can introduce yourself, Evie.
AMAB gay, was in furry about 10-ish years ago, fell out for that, got back in about the start of the pandemic.
Wow. So my perspective from social media is more on the Twitter side of the furry fandom and some of the furry conventions. Frosty was previously in Colorado, and you can say a little bit of your perspective, maybe like a minute. What do you got, Frosty?
Yeah, so I mean, like, I was in the furry fandom, like, on the DeviantArt side, like, as an artist, mainly for, like, 15 years, and then when I moved to Denver was when I really got into, like, the furry itself, like, the anthro side of the fandom, and attended a few cons and stuff, and yeah, like, it's got its ups and downs, but it's definitely not a perfect fandom, I'll say that. But yeah.
So now, Evie, what do you want to say for your bit on your perspective? I wanted to say for you that you're going to be more on the blue sky side of the furry fandom, which is a very new, like, I guess, approach to the furry fandom that I'm not super into, and I know you are.
Yeah, I've been out for a little bit of it lately, just 'cause I've been so busy. But I mean, my experience in furry was I've done some cons, but not traveled a lot. And now lately, yeah, I've been more on Blue Sky, because Twitter, when you look at Twitter versus Blue Sky, Twitter's a lot noisier. You will have a harder time like interacting. And on Blue Sky, people will actually like reply back. They will notice. They will follow back. They've embraced more of the curate your timeline, and people will periodically share that. Like, if you don't like something, you don't need to share it. Do not dunk on it. Mute or block. It's about trying to clean up social media because we were in been about a decade and a half into social media being mainstream, almost 2 decades now, and people are just tired of feeling like social media is a weight around their neck and they want to enjoy it. So they're like, flag your posts, let people can share whatever they want on one account. If they want to bifurcate, they can. But it's more about just being able to chill and enjoy things and not have to double, triple, quadruple think about what you post. Because we all got tired of people giving only a half a thought to what they post, and it was drama. Being blocked does not mean you're a bad person. It just means someone got tired of seeing that your stuff show up.
Okay, thank you.
Sorry.
You went overboard on the answer of your perspective, but okay. So those are our perspectives. So I'm going to start with mine. I'm going to, say what I feel, and my feelings are a little biased, and I am a little bitter. I will say that up front. Like, I am bitter. I am angry, and I'm not perfect, and I don't want to come off as some sort of like Puritan, like research-based, logic-driven individual, because that's not who I am anymore. Like, I am very emotional, and with that comes, bias and anger. So, I will be profane. Like, when it comes to these sort of subjects, especially when I get really spun up, like, I will just start throwing fuck yous left and right. So just be prepared for that one, because this specifically, the aspect of social media and the furry fandom, like, really gets to me, and and I've been watching this stuff for like 15 years. Like Frosty did mention DeviantArt. Yeah, I was on DeviantArt. However, I wasn't as involved with the general furry public then. But I do know that it's completely different, because I see the difference even though I wasn't completely involved. And even now, like, I can't even say that I'm like popular. Like, people know I exist, but they don't, I don't get followed. I don't really have too much of an audience, but I know there are people watching me, because I proved that this week, that there are random people watching me, because I was asked to delete a post that was completely ambiguous and had no other meaning to anyone else other than myself. So I know someone's out there. I'm being watched 24/7. So I love you. Keep on spying. I'm here. Hi guys. Here's my number one spy right here, Evie. But yeah, social media and the furry fandom and the state of the furry fandom. And how does that tie into authenticity? And what I just said, that I'm not a perfect person, and I don't want to give that appearance that I'm a perfect person. And part of authenticity is letting go of these fucking filters where you try to make yourself a perfect person, or you try to separate too much. And I know one of the biggest ones with separation filters that comes in is people who fucking treat the furry fandom as if it's like a small hobby. Like, yes, you're allowed to do that. You're allowed to do that. You're allowed to treat this as a hobby. But when you have so much separation to where you're not even a real person while you're interacting with the fandom, I don't see that as a healthy position to have. It's almost like you're turning on a game and you just drop it as soon as you shut off that button. And to me, part of the problem with that is that you need to understand that it shouldn't really be that much of a game to you. Like, these are real people. We're not at the point where, chat GPT, AI, text is like so advanced we can't like differentiate it out in the wild. Although Turing tests do say that we can't. So that's scary. But right now, there aren't any furry AI text chat GPT out there like interacting with people. So you can assume that when you're interacting with somebody on social media and they're also a furry, most likely that's a real person. So when you do these actions that come off as rude, or you're just you're just mean to people for no good reason, you're going out of your way to like hurt people, or you're doing it unintentionally and you're just like, whatever, who cares? Like, I'm going to shut off my screen and I stop being a furry. Like, that's not exactly true. And you're contributing to all this pain and suffering that's just accumulating over time. And that's really what I want to get at, is the accumulated pain and suffering, which we're living in an age where we can communicate almost at the speed of light, as fast as an electron can travel. But people are the loneliest they've ever been, even though we can reach each other 24/7. There's something very wrong about that. And it's happening across the board. It's not just about furries. It's not, it's about just people in general. But definitely, I see it being a common theme here in the furry fandom, because unfortunately, with everything that's been going on, with COVID and the lockdowns and all that stuff, even though we're out of it now, the news media cycles have been vicious. Like, these news media cycles, it's just continuous vicious media cycle. Like, since it really started in 2015. And, you hear the funny memes and conspiracies like, oh, Harambe fucking started it. Like, if Harambe had never died, none of this would have happened. But really, in 2015 is like when everything really started kicking in. And it's like so many people got sucked in to just this vicious media cycle. And it got to the point where social media isn't social anymore. Like, it's more about like creating content and consuming it, and there's like nothing social about it for the most part. And that hurts me. And this is where I want to share my part about authenticity. I came back to the furry fandom in full force in like I think it was 2021. I came back full force, and I started a project where I was commissioning a lot of artists to get my name back out there so people would know who I am. And at first it worked, because the algorithm 2 years ago was a lot better than it was now. So you had a lot of art pieces that would get like 2,000, 3,000 likes and stuff like that. Now, with the way Twitter is and the way they change the algorithms, art really doesn't get that much traction. So that project is basically dead in the water for me, and I'm not interested in doing that anymore. However, part of that project was to start reaching out to people and start making friends again. I was pretty open about that, just wherever I could find somebody to talk to, or reciprocate. But typically, what I've noticed is that, you would think it'd be common sense. It's common sense at this point. Most people are fucking assholes, like either one way or the other. But here's the thing: is that I would rather people be authentically asshole to me. I would rather them blow me off immediately than play some long ass fucking game over months where they're just tolerating me. Like, here's the thing, and this is partly my fault, I'll admit it. Like, I need to know when to call it quits. Like, if I usually try to make people laugh. Like, that's part of my thing. I do have a comedy skit, and this is my thing. I do comedy because I'm so fucking bored of just sitting around electronic equipment and fixing it and diagnosing it. Like, I need to fucking laugh. I need to fucking make other people laugh. I need to listen to people laugh, because all I fucking hear all day is beep boop beep boop beep boop. Woo. Like, I don't fucking hear anything else all day besides maybe podcasts and audiobooks. I don't even interact with people. So part of that was I was trying to reach out, at least digitally, to try to socialize, to fill in that hole. And the other part of that is that, during the first 25 years of my life, I didn't think that I needed anybody. But over time, with, my leanings into psychology and philosophy, turns out you need people because we're all social animals and we need to have that fulfillment from the social aspect. Like, basically, we need to be recognized for being alive. Otherwise, we just go batshit insane. And that's mostly what's going on with the furry fandom right now, is that most people don't feel seen, they don't feel recognized, and they are going batshit insane. And I see it every single fucking day. And you can't tell me it doesn't exist because I see it. I see so many people get on these vent breakdowns where they'll post something and it's like really vicious. And they'll be like, oh, I fucking hate the furry fandom. It's a bunch of fucking toxic fuckboys, blah, 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 blah. They'll delete it like a minute later. So they regret posting that, but it's coming out. And I'm sitting here like, this person is posting this stuff and they have like 10,000 followers. They have like 20,000 followers and they're so bitter and they're so lonely and angry. Like, clearly that number doesn't give you fucking fulfillment. Clearly there's something broken there where it's just all noise. It's all noise where nobody trusts each other. It's so fucking hard to make friends because you're almost coming in late, where you have all these people that are semi-functional and they're so scared of fucking you coming out of the blue and asking to be friends because they're like, oh, what are you looking for? Do you want free art? Do you want to fucking make your sexual advances? Do you want to like fucking take me out back or something? And I'm like, clearly I'm late because I don't want any of those things, but you think I do, and this is weird. So just the barrier to entry for random friendship is so high. Like, it's hard to even make random friendships anymore. It's just it gets to me, and unfortunately I'm done with it. I don't want to fucking make friends anymore because it's just, it gets to me. Like I said, the whole tolerance thing, and I posted about it today, is where I've directly seen where a group of friends will bring in a new guy and he doesn't quite click. But the group leader's like, oh, well, I'm such a good person. I'm going to leave them be and they can still be in this group. We're just tolerating them. And it's like, no, that's not right, because it's unfair. It's unfair to everybody involved because here's the thing. Not every personality belongs with each other. Sometimes there's going to be friction, and sometimes it's overwhelming friction. And what I mean by friction is you just don't get along. You just simply fundamentally do not belong together. But there are people out there who are like, I'm just going to be friends with this person because I'm better and I'm going to be on my high horse and this is the right thing to do. But then as soon as that person who is being tolerated steps out of line, they're going to use all that history as dirt, and they're going to try to bury them and burn them at the stake for everything they've said and done within the friend group that they observed. And that's what I'm saying. It's like, it's not okay because it's like, and I didn't want to say it was like a form of leading people on, but it's exactly kind of what it is. It's like you're leading them on to thinking that eventually you'll be real friends. Eventually you'll trust them, but there never is any trust and never comes along. So it's just this fucking fake friendship that's like, oh, look at how morally correct I am. Like, I'm keeping around this person I actually don't like, but because I'm so nice, I'm keeping them around. And it's just frustrating. It's frustrating to me because I feel like I've been in that situation, and I feel like I'm in that situation now with somebody where they don't have the fucking balls to fucking tell me like, "Hey, I actually don't like you. Like, I'm happy to take your money, but I don't actually like you." And I feel like more people need to just be direct, like be clear, and that's what I'm saying. Authenticity. You need to fucking make your intent direct. Like, there are times where it's difficult. It's difficult for me to read people because, I'll make them laugh and they'll be having a good time. But then almost like at the flip of a switch on the next day, it's like they kind of like pretend like who the fuck are you? And I'm like, what? Like, how did we take like 3 steps forward and then next day we're like 20 steps back? Like, how did this happen? Like, where did this come from? So it's hard. It's hard. It's hard out there. I hate it. It makes me vicious. It makes me angry, and I don't want to deal with it anymore because lately, what I've been thinking, it's like we create these monsters, and here's something I gotta say, and it's pretty dark, but every living person is capable of becoming a monster. Nobody is exempt. There is no, holy race that is exempt from becoming a monster. We are all capable of being evil. We're all capable of just being complete fucking assholes. Nobody's exempt. It just takes the right situation to push people in the direction, you know, in the same way, it goes both ways. It doesn't always have to be in the negative, like it can be in the positive. But lately it really just feels like it's all negative, especially in social media. Like it's just a amplification of negative media just because it sells, because people latch onto it and it feels good and people love, mobs. But at the end, you these mobs end up creating these monsters, and then later on we're just sitting there like, "Oh, I didn't know how this happened." That like we were just messing around. We didn't think he was going to do something crazy, and then it happens and it's like, "Oh, nobody saw it coming, guys." Oh. And it's one of the most idiotic things I've ever seen, to not have any like responsibility as a community. And I am very pessimistic. I'm very pessimistic about the whole state of how things are because I just feel like there's a big disproportion of personalities within the fandom, especially with the new generation of furries coming in, where it's like they're almost like a weird, like fake Catholic, like it's like they're religious, but they're not religious. So it's got to be coming from somewhere else to have some like other influence, and then you have all these like misfits that have been pushed too far. So you do get these like explosive reactions from rejections when most of the time, like a rejection, like if I get rejected, like immediately, I was just like, oh, all right, yeah, fuck you too, like bye bye, block. But you have these people within the fandom that were getting to the point where it's like they almost nearly become like stalkers. Like as soon as they get the rejection, they're like hyper fixated on fucking ruining your life. And I almost think like part of the problem was that we kind of should have steered them better. But that's the thing. It's like nobody takes responsibility. So, and I've never personally done this to anybody, so I can't say that I can take responsibility for creating one of these monsters because I don't want to create a monster. I would rather prefer to try to reach out and say like, hey, I know you're having a fucking bad time and you got shitted on by a bunch of popular furries. I'm here if you want to talk. But even that, like, most people don't know how to talk, so they kind of just bottle it in. So it's like a combination of too many things. There's too much going on, but it's like we're gonna reach a point where we're gonna explode in like 20 different directions. All right, that's my bit. I'm gonna Frosty, your point of view on all this, because yeah, AFABs have it different. Like, unfortunately, there is a different perspective when it comes to that. Like, there is a difference in interactions based on your gender. So what is your perspective on that?
Yeah, I guess to bounce off of what you were saying, I feel like the time of organic friendships is over, at least on Twitter, just cuz yeah, there's just a lot of just bullshit and crap on there, and as like an AFAB, it's like, you know, it's weird. It's very weird. Like, I almost feel kind of outcasted. I feel almost like ignored some days because like the fandom is pretty like, guy heavy. Like there's just a lot more guys in the fandom and a lot more like LGBT, and that's what this was, the fandom was based on.
And
But
no, between AFABs, it's like a hyper popularity contest.
right, and it's weird. Like it's almost like, sometimes we'll feel welcome, but other times like we don't. Like there's been groups that I'm in that it's like, oh, like before I came out as bi a couple years ago, like I was like straight, like I only was interested in guys, and that was apparently very rare, like a straight female in the furry community. But like at least when, DeviantArt was like way more popular, like in the mid 2000s, like that's really all I ever interacted with. It was very rare to find a guy on DeviantArt. Like it was primarily women artists, and hi.
I was on DeviantArt.
Oh, okay, yeah. So like, but it's funny because like I personally was like, oh, photographer, you're a photographer? No, we're not talking. Like, I only really wanted to talk to artists, but yeah.
Yeah, that's the thing too. Is like people will come up with these stupid reasons to segregate themselves. Like, I'm not gonna point anybody out, but fuck you, weebs. They
Wow.
they do plenty to segregate themselves. They're like, ew, fucking furries. Like, oh, furries can't be trusted. And that no, this happened so recently to me, where somebody like clearly admitted to me that they weren't gonna trust me because I was a furry, and I'm like, what in the fuck are you talking about?
Wow, interesting. Well, like when I was more active in the anime community, like I didn't really hear furry hate that much, but again, we're talking like 5-10 years ago now. But I don't know, I just feel like things have just taken a major downturn where yeah, like everybody is segregating each other. Like everyone's like, oh, I only want like, a specific type of person in my friend group. And it's like, why? Like, why can't we just be a little more open with each other? And like, I don't know. But
Yeah,
there again,
that's the
yeah.
thing. It's like, we all have our specific hobbies and stuff. Like, I'm not super fast at drawing. I'm not great at drawing, but I can go out and do a 3-hour photo shoot in different lighting conditions, and I can, get you portraits and landscapes and zoo photography. And it's like, can you do that? No, you
No.
can't.
Yeah.
But then people be like, well, that's not actually art. It's like, oh, okay. Oh yeah, sure. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, I used to
I'll
get that
jump
a
in
lot
there.
too. Yeah.
Art degree here, and that's one of the things I despise the most are people who try and treat art as a pedestal to put things on. And painting is art, but drawing in Photoshop isn't or something. No, it's all art. If you have to call it art to make it feel special, it's not good then. It just gets so old. People try and beat things down like it raises theirs up, and it doesn't.
Well, they're segregating because they want to create their own little special group.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
But like to go back on what I was saying, like yeah, like the organic relationships that I felt like I was having on DeviantArt, I feel like I can't get that on things like Twitter anymore. Just because you're right in terms of I feel like a little late. Like, oh, I was around in the beginning, but since I fell off, nobody knows who I am. And it's like, you have all these popufurs, and yes, I'm gonna call them popufurs, but they have their own cliques and they know what's cool and everything, and it's like that's great, but they're not as welcoming as like everybody else is. It feels like, and it's like and on DeviantArt, like you can comment. I felt like I was like way more. Yeah, I was definitely shy just because I was younger, but like you could comment on people's journals. Like people would post like vent journals, and like they'd post vent art with a vent caption, and like you'd sit there and like go back and forth with each other about how life sucks, and like it's like, oh hey, you're pretty cool, like. But you can't really do that anymore because it's almost like you either are ignored or like people just shout into the void and they just ignore any other response. And it's just like, okay, well, I guess you're not trying to make friends, through your vents. And I get it, but it's just like, it's definitely way harder now than it was before to make like friendships. But
Everything is
yeah.
fucked. Everybody sucks.
And then it's like, I guess to go onto Blue Sky, like I haven't really given Blue Sky much of a chance. It's just I don't know. There's something just that's not clicking with me in Blue Sky, but supposedly from what Evie says, it's like it's a good site and like good friendships and stuff. So maybe Blue Sky will be the savior of everything. But in terms of Twitter, like Twitter's absolutely fucked. Like it's just drama and cancel culture. And don't even get me started on cancel culture, because God forbid you have an opinion that doesn't match with the mob, and it's like you're just gonna get instantly ostracized for it. So it's like that's why I barely even say anything. Yeah, like why am I gonna get attacked by the mob for for saying something when I could have just kept shut about it? And it's like, it's sad.
Yeah, and that's a big obstacle for a lot of people when it comes to authenticity is they don't want to be the center of attention, especially in a negative light. Because a lot of these, like when you have a serious discourse, whatever the discourse is, and you become the center of attention, it's usually going to be where people will look for any kind of dirt to get on you.
Yeah.
Like you look at like what that situation that happened with Hearthfox, like they literally went after everything they could. They're like, and we did see a few posts, and it's like, oh, they're like they after the fact they're like, oh, we were just joking, like it's just a joke, like when they were saying this motherfucker like has to have something wrong with him. There's no way he can be this perfect. There's no way he can be this good. And they literally went and found any reason to try to get him canceled. And it was actually a different friend that he had in his group that they went after. He's like, oh, why do you support this person? Like, don't you know that they're like a zoo? Blah, 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 blah. And it's like, do you know that? Is it actually? Do you have the proof? Like, do you have hard evidence? And, it became this like firestorm to try to like get him off the fucking off the stage, because that's what's going on. Like with the deep platforming, they're just like it's almost like rampant jealousy is what's going on. It's like this constant fight and struggle for the spotlight for these platforms, because they see somebody like succeed and like have this appearance that they're like trying to bring joy and peace to the world. Because yeah, I get it. Hearth Fox was being a little bit too pure. And that's, if that's what you want to do, okay, I guess. If that's what you want to make your public persona, like people need to understand that, it's a persona. Like it's not actually who they are. Like it's almost like acting. Like, when an actor takes a role, like they're not that person, obviously. But yeah, other people see that and they're like, "Oh, I want to fucking take you down because you can't be as happy as I think you are because I'm not as happy as I think you are."
Yeah,
Huh.
and I think a lot of people enjoyed his downfall, like when he was going through a bunch of like trauma and he was like actively posting that he was like depressed. I was like, wow, this is terrible. But I know some people out there live for that kind of shit, and it's like I guess that's just human nature.
No, no,
So
What would happen?
yeah, I make jokes of that too. Like I'll be on Twitter and I'll see somebody have a event breakdown, and I'll make a joke about it that it's like yes, it's feeding my soul. I'm returning to life.
no, I wasn't referring to
but
you. I
like
was just referring to other people, like other quote tweets that I was seeing, like when
right
all that was
now,
going on. And I'm
like
like, wow.
when I do it, and this is I guess you could talk it more like locker talk, like behind closed doors. Like I do make fun of that. But here's the thing: it's like ultimately it is like human suffering. So at the end of the day, we need to do better to like get that stuff to stop. And I don't know what needs to happen because like I remember there's like a congressional meeting asking fucking Mark Zuckerberg, like, hey, we know you guys are looking into teenage girls and the suicide rate. Like, what the fuck are you guys doing about it? And Mark Zuckerberg was like, we're watching the data. And then they're like, what are you going to do with the data? It's like, nothing. And it ultimately becomes that. It's like, so they know it's happening and they're not doing anything about it. And that's the thing. It's like you have all this rampant suffering and the database can see it. The database sees it on a daily fucking basis, and they're just constantly accumulating this data. Like to what? Like to what end? Like ultimately, it just all becomes marketing data so that they can fucking make a product advertisement package instead of actually fucking helping people. And oh, here we go. I'm fucking anti-corporate. Here we go. Yeah, I am anti-corporate for the most part. Like, even though, sometimes corporations pay my paycheck, doesn't mean that I agree with their fucking tactics, which is just using people as cash cows instead of like actually recognizing people for people instead of just raw data.
Yeah. Yeah, I
People.
don't know. I don't know what's gonna happen. You almost have to like detach yourself now from the internet and like I
Yeah,
don't
and
know.
I said that earlier. If I keep involving myself and if I keep trying this hard, and that's the thing, making friends should not be this fucking hard. I should not have to fucking question if we're friends. I shouldn't have to like give you the theory of what a friend is. I shouldn't have to like run you through a fucking 2-hour PowerPoint on if we're friends or not. Like that's too much work. Like it should be organic, as they say. And I just don't think that happens much anymore. There's just no naturally occurring friendships. And going back to what I was saying during the monologue, it's like what I was really trying to like spit out and it just didn't come out is I just wasn't I didn't have many friends when I was young. And I didn't have many friends up until I was 25. And what happened to me when I was 25, and it's a long story, but it completely changed my life. The easiest thing to like picture it as is like people who are seconds away from dying and they get revived. That's basically what happened to me. So I got a second chance at life, and what I decided to do is be a lot more outgoing. I became an extrovert instead of an introvert, which I was an introvert. Like there was no doubt in my mind and no doubt in anybody's mind around me that I was an introvert. But now I'm completely the opposite. And it really is attributed just to that, near death experience. And don't get me confused because people have fucking quoted me out of context saying that I want them to try to get themselves killed just so they can be a different person. It's like, no, 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 that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that to me specifically, That's what really pushed me to reconsider and reevaluate my whole life and shift in a completely different direction. I'm not saying that you need to put yourself in life and death situations to get there. You can get there through different means. You can get there through self-help. But for me, it was forced on me. I didn't have a choice. I had to make the decision to change or not to change. And if I hadn't changed, I don't know, I would probably not be here. I really would be dead. I'm gonna be honest with that one. But I'm here and I'm better than I ever was. But my biggest regret from back when is that I didn't have enough friends. And I never got any of that like high school friendship experience or like college friendship experience. So I was kind of trying to recreate it, but it's almost like too late. It's so hard to recreate because it's like people will always fall into this routine, or they'll fall into a routine, and people like say, "Oh, well, it's not their fault. Like they're busy. Like you can't force them into." It's like, but how do I word this without sounding like an asshole? It's like, I've had 50, 60-hour work weeks before. But I have always found time for people I care about. So when somebody, and this is an example, and if it fits the shoe, yeah, fuck you, shoe the fit. But if you're like a full-time artist and you work at your own pace or whatever, and I'm interacting with you, and you say you don't have time, you're too busy, blah 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 blah. It's like, is that so? Like I've had 60-hour work weeks and I still somehow have time to like do a bunch of shit. So what you're saying is that you don't think I'm worth the time. And at that point, yeah, I need to make the decision whether that person is worth my time. Because if they don't think I'm worth the time, like why am I giving them my fucking time? You know what I'm saying? Like it should be almost like an equal exchange there, where it's like if you message me and I reply to you within fucking 5 minutes, I expect the same fucking respect. That's almost basic. Like, why the fuck am I waiting 48 hours for you to reply to me when I reply to you in 5 minutes? You're just asking for me to fucking eject you. Because that I take as a fucking disrespect, but we're living in an age where somehow people think that's okay. And like that's not okay at all. Like the amount of disrespect here is insane. Like yeah, I'm fucking tooting my own horn. Yeah, I did 10 years in the Marine Corps, so like it's hard for me to just give people natural respect right off the back. Like you need to earn it. You need to really fucking earn it because there's not a lot of people that I'm just going to like instantly afford respect to. But the amount of fucking disrespect I get is insane. Like
Can I add something real quick?
yeah, go for it. I'm
And
sorry. I like started a whole different monologue.
well, like in terms of the not responding, I feel like the pandemic probably worsened a lot of people's like social anxiety. It made mine like really bad. I used to always be like you, where I would respond to people like immediately. And now I'm sometimes staring at my phone for like hours trying to think of ways to like respond to people that I'll end up just completely either forgetting to respond or like I just I don't know how to keep a conversation going anymore. And it's so weird. And it's like with Evie too. Like I was like I opened our chat one day and I was like, "Oh shit, I never responded to you." Like and that was like 10 days ago. So I'm just like I don't know. I think a lot of people got impacted by like just I don't know, like the difference in how people are now, like
They regress
especially with the
socially, like a lot
right.
worse.
I feel like I've definitely I almost don't know how to talk to people like I used to.
And that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. It's like, this is a fucking person you're talking to. Like, you need to match the level of respect.
Yeah.
Actually, jumping in on some of that, there's a few counterpoints to some of it. One of the problems is been noted, I think, in some studies. The people feel like they have to be available 24/7 now because of technology, and I think if some countries in Europe are starting to push back on that with work hours because it's midnight your time. No, you don't need to respond to that work email. That's work, and this is kind of transcended into personal or these freelance works where because we use Twitter, we use Telegram or other platforms that we use personally for business, now it's hard to bifurcate to say, I will get to them when it's 8 a.m. or, I might work later or I might fudge that a little bit. Now we feel pressured to respond ASAP. I actually did with a person I've commissioned take like 2 days to respond to an email from them because I was thinking about, asked, do you still want this because Halloween is about to pass before they get to it? And I decided, and I ended up waiting. I kept thinking, do I or don't I? Do I or don't I? I had that anxiety of responding. And it sucks when that was just me as a customer, but I've had that with work too. But work, you at least force yourself. But yeah, technology has, in a way, and I was actually, before we got on here, from a message you sent, Nitro, I went and grabbed an old history of photography textbook I had, and I found an image from, I don't know, it was the 40s or 50s.
What the
I
heck?
think. Oh, it was of no, at a drugstore. The old counter people ate lunch and shit, and it was basically showing here's the isolation people felt despite the fact that technology had progressed. You could call people up and get a hold of them pretty damn quick anymore, and yet people were feeling more isolated than they ever had. Technology is not fixing it, and in the modern age, we still are making it worse because all of our stuff we feel more pressured to respond quickly. Twitter, you guys mentioned shouting into the void. That's exactly how I felt when I came back to it. You go to Blue Sky and it's less of that because it's not noisy. There's not the numbers. You have less of that pressure of your time is being demanded that you didn't offer it up for. You have other things to do and you feel anxiety, you feel pressure. I mean, we all do. And every little thing you reply on Twitter is now at the scrutiny of every jackass that misinterprets it and wants to make a name for themselves off of it. So then why do you want to make that post? Or why do you want to reply to that person? I've learned more about people through DMs and just either through Twitter or going to Telegram or something else than I would have through just interacting on their posts because it's something you can be comfortable with people.
Well, it's the big issue there is I have two counterpoints. The immediate one is reacting in general. When you're reacting immediately to a post, most people aren't thinking. They're just blah, react immediately. And there's a character limit, so you get to react in a limited fashion. So you don't get to think about what you're saying. You don't get to actually digest and I guess complicate your words. Like, you don't get to really fine tune what you're trying to say. You kind of just, here's 150 characters. The other thing, it's like, I agree with the whole work hours thing and shutting off replies to people. And I'm not specifically talking about that because, like I said, I do agree with work hours being limited, especially work transmission stuff. Like, I'm more specifically talking about friendship stuff, like friendships, and having it be somebody that you have already had, dozens, almost hundreds of interactions, and they still treat you with disrespect. And then that's the thing. Like, you have different, I guess, schools of thought on this, where it's like, there's one side, there's like, oh, I don't need to fucking justify anything. I'm my own person. I'm an adult. Fuck you. And then you have the other side where it's like, which I'm more on this side where I'm like, you need to, in a way, apologize for that because you did insult me by keeping me waiting when I haven't kept you waiting. And yeah, you're right. There's some expectation, but I think personally, I have reasonable expectations. Like, if this person consistently messages me at fucking 2 in the morning my time, and I message them back, and then one day I message them at 2 in the morning, and I know they're fucking up and about, and they don't fucking reply to me, I do take that as an insult. And that's, I mean, I understand. I understand that, like I said, people have different point of views on it. I just don't like the people that are like, yeah, my time is more valuable than yours, but I still need your money, so fuck you. Like,
You
it's
know what I do
Yeah.
want?
like, do you actually want my money? Because this is how you lose my money.
One of the things I do wonder about is what's the volume of messages people get? 'Cause that's been the other issue as tech has grown. The amount of people on this stuff all the damn time. I don't see as much because I don't get that many messages, so it's easy to respond quickly if I'm feeling up to it. But some people, it turns out, they will consistently seems like have triple digit messages coming in,
Oh,
and a lot of
yeah.
it's not important at all. So the tech that we're using gives you no tools to help separate or prioritize. Sorry.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. I agree with that. Like, and you're lumping in like automated stuff, like where it's like trash, because like with Twitter, I know there's a lot of trash coming in where it's like commission spam bots, where it's like they're actually people, but they're not good at what they're trying to sell you, and it ultimately it just becomes this like barrage of just spam. But then there's the people that are, it's like they want to make friends, and they'll message you, and it's the classic like, oh hey, hi, HRU, HBU, blah blah blah, ooh woo, and it's like they don't know how to make and keep a conversation. Like, I'm not even talking about small talk here. Like, I'm just talking about like having somebody engaged in any sort of way. They have like they're not interesting. Like, a lot of these people just have no easily accessible interests. Like, it's almost like they're expecting you to carry the conversation, and it's like I can't do that for like 30 different people, where it's like if you want to be entertained, just like fucking watch one of my videos here. Like, do you actually want to talk to me, or do you just want me to talk at you? Like, what's the situation here? You know what I mean? Like, a lot of people
Mhm.
are just bad at fucking interacting with people.
It's the you want to meet someone, but you don't have anything to say to them. Like there's nothing to talk
Yeah.
about. It's like, how are you? Like, I'm fine. That's a bullshit answer, but it.
No,
Why am I going to get into my
usually
personal life?
I don't like people asking me how I am, because I will be fucking completely blunt and direct at them, and they'll kind of just stare at me, and I'm like, "Oh, that's not what I wanted." I'm like, "Well, that's what you fucking got."
Yeah.
Like,
That's actually something that I appreciated from you, like when we were like first meeting. It was like you were like telling me everything. I was like, oh, he's actually like not confiding in me, but it's like, wow, you're actually talking to me, like talking.
wow.
Like it's not like, yeah, I'm fine. How are you? I'm great. Okay, thanks. Bye. Like, so I feel
You,
like a lot of people just aren't like in a way authentic like that. Like
A
if
lot of
someone asks
people
you like, yeah,
just have no fucking personality.
yeah,
there's the trauma dumping too. It's like
Eh, eh,
there's people who want to trauma dump, but they don't want to hear your thoughts on it. And then it's also just some people can't handle being trauma dumped on. So they either you get a hi, how are you? Or it's like, oh, I'm depressed and going through all this. And you're like, I'm trying to work. I don't have the energy to like think about you need a therapist.
That's
right,
that right. That's the thing, and it's like I have filled in for a I guess a amateur hobbyist therapist for people. And I will say it's expensive. Like, you guys need to realize that, you're taking my time, right? It's like $40 an hour for me to sit there and talk to you for 6 hours straight. So for me to do that, I am giving you a huge gift. Massive gift. And like most people don't even fucking realize that. Like they're just
That
like, oh, thanks for talking to me. It's like, yeah, I really hope you take it to heart because I took all this time out of my day to help you.
Mm-hmm.
God, that was my early adulthood years. The amount of people I did that with.
Yeah. And it's like I don't mind the trauma dumping if you take into consideration what I'm telling you. Like I've had so
That
many
helps.
people, yeah, like I've had so many people like come to my DMs and be like, I'm so depressed. I've had this, and this happen. And I said, okay, well, here's what I recommend. And it's like half of the time they're just like, yeah, well, okay, I tried that, but I'm still depressed. And I'm like, okay, well, I can't help you then. Like clearly this is out of my hand.
Has
So,
anyone ever just said they don't want advice, they just want to vent to you?
surprisingly, no, I haven't had that
That
yet.
that happened to me with someone I went to high school with when I was in college, and it was the biggest like, what the fuck moment for me. And but that person I still have nothing positive to say about. So that tells you anything about
Really?
them.
No. That's the thing. It's like she's probably gotten it from me. She just doesn't realize that it's exactly that. But
Yeah.
I will go out of my way, and I'll use people as whiteboards. Like I don't need them, but I kind of just want them to listen, and then I'll eventually get to the answer myself. And I'm just like,
Rubber duck.
Oh, I see.
Rubber ducking. That's a thing in engineering and programming. You basically
yeah,
need someone that when you're explaining to them, your brain is working through it to get to the answer. And that's why people say get a
Oh,
rubber duck and tell the duck explain it to that. That way you don't interrupt people. And
yeah,
then if it's not working, you go to a person.
yeah. I call it whiteboarding after the show House because House does it.
oh yeah.
Yeah, so I do the same thing. I do the same thing to people where I'll have an issue and I'll literally just use you to bounce off like myself.
And that's fine. Like as long as and you've mentioned that before, like, hey, I'm just gonna speak for a minute here. But as long as you state your intention. But I'll literally have people ask me what my advice is, and then they just straight up ignore it. And I'm like, why'd you even ask me to begin with? So that part's just frustrating. But
You
yeah.
know what
But
I am good.
what?
I was gonna say
Um
I'm curious though, um, looking at like modern social media versus the older, smaller stuff, is there anything that stood out to you as different in what you considered a community there?
Hmm. I don't know. Like, do you have like an example or like?
Well, I'm just thinking my issue with social media, and this ties to furry, but everything in general, even things like Facebook, is it's so big with so many people that it's not only overwhelming and it's hard to like interact with that many people. It's hard to interact with them genuinely. You're worried about things being taken out of context, and it's a lot of noise, but there's also a lot of conflicting points of view with everyone wanting to be right versus the
Mm,
small stuff where yes, if you piss someone off, you're risking having no community or even fewer, but it's a lot more manageable. And I'm curious, like those DeviantArt days, the early Facebook days, live journal days, the Neopets days, like are there things about those kinds of communities that stood out differently to you too?
hmm.
I don't know. In terms of Facebook, I felt like it was because you're using your actual name. Well, most people were using their actual like names and stuff. It was almost shunned if you were to say something because it would follow you in real life almost instantly. And that's something I noticed. Like, so my high school had like a Facebook group, and it was like 1,000 kids. We all knew each other, and people would post, like fundraising and all this shit. But it's like some kids would post like hot takes and like stuff that was happening around in the school, and everyone would see it, and then like the next day it'd be like Sunday night, right? So Monday, everyone's like, "Oh my god, did you see what Jared posted on Facebook? Like, he's
Well,
such a dick." And it's like, "Oh shit." I'm like, "Oh, let me not post anything on there." Like, whereas with like Twitter, like you're almost hiding behind like a persona. You're hiding behind that. And I'm sure people, if they're desperate enough, they can go digging for like your real stuff. But it's almost like that anonymity that like kind of protects people and like
a
allows
little,
them to
a,
be,
a little
yeah.
bit, because like with you and I, we both have permanent identity personas. So these personas are our identity.
Oh yeah.
Like, these aren't throwaway characters. These aren't like fucking burner phones that you just dump in a dumpster and you're free and clear.
Mhm.
If I commit an atrocity, literally everyone is gonna fucking know. And I can attest to this because a lot of people in this local area know who I am. And they have never even fucking met me in real life.
Yeah.
So that's the thing. It's like there's this imbalance of power between the people that have a permanent identity and the people that have throwaway personas. So
Do you
it's
think
just it's a lot scarier for us. It's a lot scarier for us who have permanent identities and can easily be attached to real life, because
Mhm.
we actually have stuff to risk. And that's the big thing with the whole, accountability on social media, where, we actually have something to lose, where, a lot of these people, they do their best to make sure that they can't be attached to their actions in real life. And that's a
and
little bit I was trying to say. It's like with the whole segregating things, with this fake online persona and hurting people and saying, oh, whatever, it's just online.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's the problem with all social media, whether it be furry or the larger scale Twitter or even modern Facebook. People don't feel accountability. So the things you would never say to someone's face, you wouldn't go into a coffee shop and grab a mic on stage and say you. They just say it because they feel safe in their own home. Even if you know who they are, you're not going to come confront them with it. They feel no, for lack of a better phrasing, danger to their well-being or even their own just identity or reputation. So it's like it's completely separated, bifurcated, and now we've got this issue of there's no filter, and so they're
Yeah,
angry and they respond in the
it,
worst ways.
it,
Sorry.
it's the same psychology behind mobs and the individual being masked and diffused within the group. So there is some really crazy stuff that happens to people when they feel like they're not going to pay the consequences because they're in a large group and they're going to get away with it. There's some crazy stuff that happens up there. And that's what I said. Everybody has the capability of becoming a monster. And especially when they feel like nobody's watching them because there's so many people to watch, they feel like they can just back into the shadows. Whoa.
Yeah.
But I can't do that. I can't back into the shadows, so, I am the devil,
That's one of the better things about you not having a burner account, though, is you. I think you can come to me with the frustrations on not being able to say things, and I think that restraint is a level of maturity that's lacking in too many people. The fact that you can go to someone's DM, share what's going on with you, and hopefully get out of your system, but not put it out to the world, who most of which was never intended to interact with that to begin with, but it was brought into their home, and now they feel like it's personal to them, even though it really has nothing to do with them.
Yeah, and that's
Mhm.
that falls into the whole parasocial interactions, where
Yeah.
you get these people who, yeah, take it personally, or they feel like they have some sort of right to say whatever they have to say, like they're a close friend or something, or like they are being personally affected when they're like on the other side of the country or something. And it's like, what do I what does my drama have anything to do with you who are over in fucking Oregon?
Yeah.
And I don't know. I don't know if we should be like region locked or something so we can all be held accountable.
We need to start rethinking social media and online interactions. Honestly, that to me is the next stage of this, because I always go back to Facebook because I watched it evolve from '05 to, let's say, a few years ago when I stopped. I really wasn't using it much in the last year, and it changed so much. It's too many people, no filters, it's thrown together, and suddenly your childhood best friend's parents are spouting their political views that you never asked to hear.
Yeah.
And
Mhm.
Twitter's the same way. Furry's basically the same way. It's just everything that's thrown at you, no
Yeah,
filter.
right. Right, the current world events. Like I'm not going to bring him into this talk because all I have to say about that is that I fucking hate when I'm in my little furry sphere and all of a sudden I have all these like political propaganda posts from either side trying to shove it into my face, trying to like get me to give them their support. And I'm like, we're a bunch of fucking furries. This isn't the place for it. Like, and I really am saying it for both sides. Like, it just does not belong in the furry community. It's not something that should be tied with because it just looks absolutely fucking ridiculous. And I'm gonna point back to last year with what happened with Ukraine, right? You had a lot of these furry artists where they drew their personas on the fucking battlefield like they were there in support of Ukraine. And I'm looking at that, I'm like, you don't get much more fucking ridiculous than this.
That's cosplay, and that just feels disrespectful.
Yeah.
Like,
Like you're not in any danger.
I get that you're trying to make propaganda in support of Ukraine, but it's like, can you please do it in a more serious, professional manner? Like, the furry fandom is not the place for it.
Right.
Like, regardless of what your beliefs are. Like, I'm not trying to take a side here, like, publicly right now, but I'm just saying that it does not belong here. And most people are pretty good about it. Most people, like, keep it out. Like, because ultimately, what the furry fandom is about, you know, making a fantasy world for yourself, being your per se true self. You know, it's not about the horrors of fucking war on the other side of the planet. Like, it should never be about the horrors of war on the other side of the planet.
Right. It should be
Is
like an
there,
escape.
yeah, is there a point where you think it makes sense for people, particularly thinking if it's tied to their professional life? Like we've seen it from a lot of doctors and medics and nurses, say talking about COVID and other stuff, to bring it into the sphere because it is relevant to the safety of people in the fandom, or it's very close to them because that is their life and they want to bring that to attention of people because them as a professional are the ones that are qualified to talk about something.
So see, you just brought up an issue that makes me think, and I like that. I like that. Good job, Evie. Um, so, like you said, if it's somebody directly involved with it, and it's a medical professional and all that stuff, that's good. I'm okay with that. That's fine. And I am thinking back on what I said. It's like, yeah, there was a lot of artists over in Ukraine that had to relocate. They were relocating, and yeah, they were directly affected. But that's the thing. It's like I did not see that type of art from them. This was art from like people who weren't anywhere near that place.
Yeah.
So it's almost like insensitive. It's almost like detached. It's very ridiculous. It's like this is a very serious event where people are losing their lives, and you're over here making very ridiculous, silly, furry art of your character holding a gun, fighting a war that you've never been in.
Mhm.
So that's what I'm trying to get at is like the more detached, unprofessional stuff. But yeah, like if it's like yeah, when you go to a con, you're around thousands of people. Like at Anthrocon, we're around 13,000 people. If there's a major health concern, I would like to know. So that's important. But if it's like I said, if it's to raise awareness, I think there's plenty of other avenues where awareness can be raised. Because here's the thing, and it's important. It's you should not be getting all your news and I guess activist goals from the furry fandom. Like that should not be your go-to place when it comes to like these opinions. It should not be your go-to place for philosophy or fucking anything when it comes to anything serious. You should have a different, more credible source. And I'll fucking give it to you. Like if you want to fucking take CNN's word or Fox News word, do that. Don't fucking take the furry fandom's word for fucking real life events. Go to CNN, go to Fox News, go to fucking MSNBC, go somewhere else with humans in it for human related things. Don't take your word from the furry fandom. And that's just what I'm trying to get at is like this is a very silly, ridiculous place. It's not where you should be getting your, I guess, live action news from.
Mhm.
Sorry, I hit my controller. I will.
Because that's the thing. It's like by the time it gets to the furry fandom, it's probably already gone through like 5-6 different hands. You're not getting first-hand accounts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Whew.
I would honestly say for most things on social media, use them as a launching point. If you have something you're passionate about, or even as a professional, share links or something back to a place of action. They should not be your endpoint.
So, somewhere more credible. Yeah, and that's the thing. It's like when I see people circulating stuff, and I'm like, okay, that right there is interesting, but I'm not going to take their word for it. I'll start researching it from different sources. I don't take their word for it because that would be insane. Yeah.
A lot of those even like sources are on those same platforms. So, and then really
it's
what
like
you could
circular. It's like circular
Yeah.
referencing.
And there's a point where you could make a second account if you want to get super deep into it, so you can bifurcate the furry from the really serious stuff. Because it's okay to separate your interests. We over combine too much on social media right now, and then that's why people are getting pissy at it. They didn't ask to see something, and it's okay to have different spheres of things. Your friends from thing A don't have to be in thing B. You can still be friends in both, have friends in both spheres.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
But like I said, that's another thing that I wanted to say. Part of authenticity is also being able to say no. Like the whole thing, and I have covered this before, is saying no is very difficult, but it's necessary. And, throughout my lifetime, I've had plenty of situations where I've had to say no, where I've had to reject somebody, or I've had to, like, be very clear with people with what I want. And that's the thing. It's like even I still struggle with other people not being able to say no to me. Like with the whole thing where I was talking about being tolerated but not accepted. Like I just really wish that instead of being tolerated, I would just flat out be rejected. So I know not to waste my time. Because I end up in these flip-flop situations where I'm like, well, I don't know if I can make this work. I don't know if I want to make it work.
Oh, no.
And then it makes me like, I don't know. It like short circuits me where I was like, now I feel guilty. Like, the whole time investment thing. It's like, I've invested like months months out of my time trying to be this person's friend, and I don't even actually know if we are friends. So it almost makes me guilty.
There's a. Oh, did we lose Frosty?
I think she ran out of battery.
Yeah. No, I
Oh,
think
She's a
something on
ghost.
my co-
Woo!
Hold on.
Woo!
It's my computer being stupid. Anyway.
I have a question for you two, and even the people watching to think about themselves. Would you feel guilty if someone new messaged you and it was starting with small talk? You didn't feel like you had the bandwidth or time at right then, and had to reply something like, "Hey, I don't have the time for small talk. If you have something serious, we can talk. But other than that," like, would you feel bad using phrasing like that to someone brand new approaching you? And on the flip side, would you feel bad if someone said that to you?
I will say it right off the back. It's like, yes, I would feel bad about it.
On
Sorry,
both
what was
ends?
the question again?
If someone approached you, say on Telegram or Twitter or wherever, and it was just generic, hi, how are you? Or, oh, I love your fursuit, or I love your fursona, but you're stressed or tired, busy, and you had to reply with something like, hey, I really don't have the bandwidth for small talk. And then, maybe follow up like, if I can talk about serious thing or something else, basically kind of blowing them off, but also not. Like, would you feel bad saying it or having that said to you?
Yeah, I definitely feel bad saying it.
Yeah, saying it, I would feel bad, but it is necessary sometimes. Receiving it, I would love to receive it. Like, I will take them all day. Like, I would rather them reply with that than me sitting there waiting for like hours or days for some sort of reply. And then I get replied to, and it's like, oh, okay, I wasted my time. Thanks.
I think I might. There are times in my life I think I probably would have been disappointed by it, but I think after some experiences, yeah, I'm with you. I'd rather hear it because I know someone who's had to do that, and it makes sense because some people, because they have a fursuit or a Sona, people like they get a lot of those rando messages that are nothing, and if they're running a business or working a lot of hours or got other stuff going on, they just don't have the bandwidth. And those some of those people do get into that double or triple digit unread messages, and that's what I'm thinking. I want everyone to start thinking about is you don't owe people your time. And I don't mean that to be a negative thing. And some people, it is very much negative. They're demanding your time in a comment section on something. But others like this, it's you don't owe them your time. It's not being a dick. It's you don't have that bandwidth to go work 40 plus hours, do your chores, do your other obligations, and then answer random things from strangers. And that's your life. Like, at what point do you say, I need to put boundaries down? And how do we as strangers accept other people's boundaries when they're given to us?
That is our episode on boundaries, which is in our archive, boundaries. But yeah. I fully agree with that. Like, you have to have your boundaries, and yeah, you can't just take in everybody and anybody. Like, I'm gonna give a quick ridiculous example. Like, if somebody sends me a hey, wanna chat, like, message, and I click on their profile and it's all fucking crazy political stuff, you know what I'm gonna fucking say? Take a guess. Take a guess what I'm gonna say.
I don't know. What would you say?
Yeah, I was like, I don't know.
I'm probably gonna say, I'm not interested in what you have to sell me. And that's probably gonna be the end of that. Because that's the thing. It's like, if I look at somebody's profile and they are super involved into whatever, like, if I fundamentally don't want to see that sort of stuff, like, it's like I said, the furry fandom is not my place to go to. So that's a great filter for me. If somebody's like super involved into like hot takes consistently or like political takes consistently, I'm just like, yeah, this person's not fucking for me. Like, don't even try to talk to me.
So in a way,
like,
good.
Like,
I was just gonna say, like, it depends.
If they spend all day like throwing out like religious bits, like, that definitely is also gonna be an instant no from me.
Yeah.
So in a way, it's almost like you're saying it would benefit from being able to separate into areas based on interests while still having common, more neutral ground.
Well, I think that's the thing. I think people can do better at their quick scan, their quick their quick profiling. Like it doesn't take much. Literally, it takes the "How are you?" You click on their profile, swipe out once, and if you don't like what you saw in the first 30 seconds, you just say, "Hey, you're not for me. We don't want to talk. Bye bye."
In some
Right,
ways, I would wonder. Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. Oh no, I was just gonna
Oh,
say like it's fine. Like if they seem to have like differing views, like and they want to talk, like I'm all for like having an educational discussion about things, especially if it's somebody that I don't necessarily agree with their views. It is interesting to see the other side, but it's like I said, it's almost like hard to do that nowadays, like on the internet, because you're just gonna get like chastised for it. Whereas, you know,
Counter.
oh.
I disagree with what you just said because when it comes to my perspective of your profile is you are not setting yourself up for intellectual conversations. You're not replying in a matter where you're inviting intellectual conversations. And that's the thing. It's like, neither am I. And I do that for a reason. It's because I would rather not invite people to have intellectual conversations on a fucking open platform where you only have 150 characters. And that's the thing. That's what I'm trying to get at is no, you don't. Because I have been through your profile and I can tell you, you don't sit there and bait intellectual conversation.
Oh, well, no, I don't do it on Twitter, but there's other places on the internet that I will go to for that. That's more like Reddit. That's more of something I do that I on Reddit. Something that
something
I do on Reddit.
something in there too. Take away the 150 character count. Nobody's reading your novella
No,
on a
no,
topic.
Oh yeah,
no.
no.
No. I've written like 500, 600 words, and I can tell you that people read probably the first 20.
You could write 30 words and someone will read the first 6 and then write a reply to you angry. If they read words 8 and 9, they'd realize that they're in agreement with you. That happened to me years ago on Facebook. I still remember because it was absurd as hell. And everyone
No,
that
yeah,
read that
and
was confused.
no, yeah, and that's the thing. It's like I've made threads where I'm like specifically like it's specifically directly pointed at one individual, and then it'll be completely miscorrect out of context. It'll be snipped and clipped, and they'll take like the first tweet out of the entire thread, and they'll say like, "Oh, so you're against this?" And it's like, no, I'm not against whatever I wrote in the first tweet. If you read down the chain on the third little block of text, you're going to see that this whole thing is specifically about one person.
I
Mm-hmm.
And
mean,
I out of all people am very well aware that one person does not define an entire group.
so being on topic here, my thing on this current state furry fandom is we're too reliant on outdated forms of social media and platforms, and we need to reconsider the purpose of each one. Open platforms are not the place for a lot of types of open discussion. I mean, how much more have you two gotten to know me since having been on voice chat or even Telegram versus like Twitter?
Oh yeah, like a lot more.
Because Twitter's a minefield. You throw something out there and it's for everyone, but a DM or a group chat is for just the people there.
That's
Mm-hmm.
the thing. It's like and I covered it. I think I covered it last episode where I was talking about like friendship circles or like relationship circles, and it's like people really shouldn't have more than like 20 people that they are consistently interacting with because they can't handle more than like 20 people.
Yeah.
That's it. Almost makes you wonder if, like I've debated this before, should a platform have a lifespan? Because we see on things like Twitter where people are so overwhelmed that they just basically shut off a lot of notifications. But then you go to newer ones or other ones, and suddenly they are interacting with more people, even initiating those interactions. But you even go to somewhere like Telegram that's new-ish, and they're still overwhelmed.
I think so. I agree with that, because here's the thing. It's like and yeah, I am bitter. Suck my fucking weenus.
Oh no.
But I will see these accounts, and especially these furry accounts that are just owned by these completely uninteresting people that should never had any sort of spotlight. And I see their profile and I'm like, why do you even have this? Why do you even have 10,000 followers? Why do you have 20,000 when you only get like 10 interactions? When you only get like 20 interactions? And it's like, how much of that follower count that you're overinflating your ego with, how much of that is real? Yeah. Yeah. Cause like that's the thing. It's like I consistently see this happen where it's like I said, you have people with 10,000, well, you could even say smaller, like, 3,000 to 10,000, where they're like consistently complaining about being lonely and not finding friends. And it's like, why? You have 10,000 people to pick from. Can't you just at least find 10?
Some of those followers, I mean, yes, a lot are friggin' bots, let's be real, but there's
Yeah.
some of these people, if you own a fursuit or you get a lot of art done, that is that brings a lot of people in who will have never, they clearly have no interest in interacting with them on a personal level. I've seen it from those people who have lots of them. They post something personal, maybe 20 interactions with hundreds of views. Fursuit photo, yep, now you're getting that triple digit, 4-digit, interactions.
That is the OnlyFans dilemma. OnlyFans, guys. So I've actually seen that at a massive scale. I saw it at like the 100,000 followers scale, where their pictures, their promotional OnlyFans pictures, were getting like 5 to 10,000 likes, and as soon as they posted something like personal with actual words in it, like it had like 20 likes. Like, it was like completely like everybody just fucking, oh, I didn't see that. Just shut up and
You know
go
what?
back to fucking making content. And this is what I was saying earlier, is social media, and separated a little bit from the OnlyFans thing, because this is a little bit different conversation, but social media is not social at all anymore. It's more just a content creation, content consumption platform. Like, everybody's
Before I
just
came,
kind of treating it like if it's fucking like Netflix or something.
Mm-hmm.
before I came back to Twitter, I was constantly hearing that posts with an image will get more attention, and also they were planning the what kind of photos to put on there, say like of their fursuit, because they wanted the way they're going to be depicted in the posts. If they looked right in the way Twitter was going to crop, if you did two of them, or if it was portrait, do you need two, or landscape should be one. Basically, people had noticed that certain types of ways of doing your posts, you got more interactions, and it does make people feel better, because it is almost like, do you still think this I'm cute or fun or hot, instead of just they feel ignored.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, yeah, it's that little dopamine hit, and it's what I was saying earlier. We have a very animalistic need to socially interact, to be seen and heard, and that's, you cannot take that out of people. That's just there, period. So a lot of people will go for those quick shots of dopamine to just, try to trick themselves into thinking that they're seen and heard, but really it's just content.
Honestly, I've been asking this for months. Why are some of the first people, they're the most socially active, they got their blue sky accounts first, still very dormant on that site as it has grown? And honestly, like, that's what I go back to. Some don't like it because it is still buggy. The interface needs work, but you're not going to get probably 300 likes on some rando fursuit picture. Some do. Some it's growing. It's getting there, but for the go back a few months, no, absolutely not. And so you're not getting your dopamine hit when you could get 500 likes on a picture and you're going to get 100 or less on Blue Sky. They lost their dopamine hit. And I'm not saying all of them. I will definitely hold that line, but I don't know who's who. And it kind of drives me nuts because some of these are people you have met and they just won't make the jump. And they've had their accounts the longest.
Mm-hmm.
And they're staying in the cesspool where it's so much noise and they hate it there anyway, but it has that dopamine hit.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
it really is like a mind cage, mind enslavement. Because and here's the thing I've heard from hi.
These controllers are awful.
Woo! I've heard, I've seen streamers or like content creators where they're like, "Oh, I hate this life. I hate, having to constantly be at the whim of the people, blah 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 blah." And I'm sitting here like, "Yeah, do you actually really hate it that much that you don't let it go? Like, you're obviously drunk on the attention. Otherwise, you would have let it go. You would have just stopped." It's like, and yeah, like I do say that out of jealousy sometimes because I'm like, you know what? I will gladly take your fan base. If you want to quit, I'll take them. Just give it over. And they're like, no, they're mine. I'm like, okay, well then, maybe shut up.
There's a word coming to mind. I
What?
really want to ask this question.
Uh-oh.
So what's your brand? That's a phrase I want everyone to rip up and throw in the trash. I remember when that became common. It became common as a lot of us were getting our start into adulthood. That phrasing and that word, your brand, needs to die, not only for furry, for streamers, for everyone's sanity on the internet. Because you basically are turned into a commodity now. And furry is seeing it more and more with the streaming, with the fursuit makers, with the artists, with people coming in looking for an identity. You are basically made to come up with a brand, and it's not only becomes inauthentic, it turns what's supposed to be your recreational social time into a job.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. It is technically a job. Yeah.
And how
Sad.
can you be authentic when you're walking on eggshells like you're prepping for a job interview, but that's 24/7, 365, because this is not a job you ever get and can turn that off and
Because,
kind
like
of
I
calm
said,
down.
as soon as you get to a point where uh, you are semi-successful, there will be the people that are looking to make your downfall because they themselves have not achieved that happiness, I guess.
Their brand becomes the witch hunter then, and they need to find their next victim, for lack of a better term. I mean, how often we've seen that where people got
Oh
that
yeah.
dopamine high of finding someone, and now, like you've mentioned earlier, they start digging through people. You get that 10 screenshot thing, call out post, and none of them are a smoking gun. It's more of like you and this person just don't get along, or are you just trying to get some internet points? Either way, none of this is authentic. It's demanding our energy. And we see this a lot in furry.
Yeah. Yeah, it's I used to be on a website, a failed social website, which called itself a social experiment, called MeWe. MeWe. So one thing that became viral there with attention seeking was pedophile hunting. And the reason that I had a big problem with it is that somebody I knew, and I've told this story a couple dozen times, is like somebody I knew who was a minor underage started getting used as pedophile bait. And a lot of the justifications were so fucking ridiculous and stupid. And the top two ones that come to my head were like, well, it's just online. There's no way they're going to get hurt. And it's like, you're kidding me. The second one was trying to fucking reference like the Chris Hansen To Catch a Predator trying to say, "Oh, well, the police does it all the time." It's like, no, they fucking don't, because they don't use actual minors. Like it's staged. It's, that person is just made to look like a minor. Like it's not actually a minor. So with a lot of these like pedophile hunting little expeditions they were doing, like they were breaking so many fucking laws in the name of trying to catch a pedophile. And 99% of the time they would expose somebody for being a pedophile, and there was never any police reports. There was never any convictions. And it's like, what was the point of all this?
Part of it, ego boosting. Part of it, looking for an identity. Early-ish pandemic. Does anyone remember the Wayfair conspiracy?
Oh yeah, I do remember that.
We're getting into conspiracies. They're turning the frogs
Yeah.
gay.
But that's the whole thing. People were looking for ways to find pedophiles and those child sex rings through, and they thought Wayfair posts had hints in them. It's just like there's this desperation to have an identity and give your life meaning, because so much of the world, not just this decade, but this has been through generations, life feels like it has no meaning. And now we just have, it's so easy to communicate people. We got this weird shit on the internet now, and they're just taking it to that level and to a new height of extreme of trying to find it. Like, well, I caught pedophiles, I caught the bad guys, and you didn't really. You did so many fucked up things along the way. But now this is the identity they've grabbed because it seemed like the most meaningful at the time. We see it in furry too.
Yeah.
It's no better in any of the circles.
Yeah, and that was the talk, that was discourse over the past 3 months, where they're like going on zoophile hunting raids, and it's the same thing. It's the same thing where they're looking for zoophiles and exposing themselves to it just to, in the name of catching them. And that's the thing. It's like a lot of these people end up spreading this stuff more and doing more damage by spreading it than actually catching the people.
And they expect no accountability for their own actions because it's the internet. It's not real life, even though everyone on it is real.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Wow. What if you're not real?
Your account should be deleted.
Wow.
I mean, we don't need all these bots on these sites.
Yeah, I'm.
Everyone is pushing us dangerously closer to having to tie your accounts to a real life identity because of how they're acting. It's going to push us toward, we need accountability somehow, and that's the most obvious answer that none of us want. But
yeah, and you have the net neutrality people. They're like, oh no, we gotta keep the internet a wild west. It's like, yeah, but so far it hasn't been working because people are inherently destructive when left alone. Like, unfortunately, that's just. I don't even know. That's a whole different talk about moral and ethics, like where it all comes from and all that stuff. Like, but I heard it once and I started believing it, and it's like people are inherently bad people by nature, only because when it comes to nature, there's really no reference point for good and evil. Like, nature is nature. It's like, damn it, this is getting difficult. What I'm trying to say, it's like, it's what?
It's just like those age-old studies that they, still probably debated on. Are certain creatures good or bad by nature? When is it greed? Because then you observe creatures that fall in love and protect their mate, even if there's no, offspring yet. But then later, you can see, like, as offspring gets older, they might fight the parents in a pack or other things. I mean, it gets very scientific. It's very complex.
Right. But nature is nature. Nature doesn't really recognize good or evil, and that's what I'm trying to say. It's like, but our nature as humans when we're left alone, more often than not, if we are not taught the correct way, we're going to do things in a way that could be perceived to be like bad, even though we
Well,
may not think it's bad. Because, like I said, a lot of these people, when they hurt someone, online, they tell themselves, they justify it with, well, it's just online. They can always just shut off their computer. Like, they're stupid for not shutting off their computer. It's not my fault.
who here's phone is shut down right now?
Yeah, my phone's not shut down.
Yeah, everything comes to your phone, which is typically on 24/7. Nobody shuts their phone off.
Yeah, so but that's one of the justifications that you hear from these people that, rampage across the internet hurting people. It's like, oh, they're making the choice to accept my content. And it's like, like yes and no. Like you're shoving it in people's faces, and it's not always it's almost never always as simple as just pushing the power button.
It's not as
Like,
simple as blocking them. People make new accounts to get around that. They
yeah.
send spies in.
Yeah. Like I'm being spied on right now. I see you over there. Hee-hoo. Um yeah, it's difficult. It's difficult. It's something. Yeah, the humans 200 years ago were dealing with this whole social isolation thing, but I don't know, it's a symptom of the growth of civilization. It's just something we haven't figured out, and I feel like nobody's really doing anything about it. It's
Consider
almost like,
this.
yeah, it's almost like, oh, fuck those guys, like they can figure it out individually. And it's like most people can't figure it out individually.
Consider this. How much of the society most of us are living in, or in the economies and all that, is rewarding and incentivizing this kind of behavior when you see the people who get monetary contracts and these kind of like pseudo jobs, as influencers and salespeople, whatnot, just from those follower numbers, and how even Meta learned that like pushing negative stuff got more interactions, which in a
Yeah.
way can translate into a reach. So how much of that really has kind of ruined the attempts at authenticity, and as people grow up around this, it has shaped their view of what the internet is supposed to be.
Well, if we want to get into that sort of talk, like the state of the internet, not just the fandom, and something that I've kind of I haven't avoided it on purpose. It kind of just hit me just now is like the porn industry has a big push on that. It has big influence all the time, 24/7, and it applies with the furry community as well. Like we are not separated from YIF. We're not separated from, these, I guess, natural desires. And yeah, these natural desires and catering to them, like with the quick dopamine hits and, yeah, that contributed to just this very shallow surface level, I guess, space where everybody just wants to consume because that's what sells. Because unfortunately, most people are shallow because they just, I don't know. There's some people that are shallow by choice, and there's some people that are shallow because they're kind of surrounded. They're surrounded by shallow people, and there's nothing to break them out of that.
How appealing, I mean, if you think about it, how appealing is it when you look at the furry, almost like sub economy, the fact that there are opportunities to potentially make a living in this community, off of just the people in it. And when you see these chances to boost the numbers, versus going out and getting a more traditional job, and how many of those jobs just underpay drastically and mistreat people and let the customers mistreat their people, I do wonder like how much of that is pushing people to behave the way they do, combined with there being a lack of consequences where you get that 10, 20K follower on Twitter, maybe you can have a better shot at making money as a streamer or as an artist or something else.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, we had talked about that as the feasibility of just doing streaming as for a living. And it's like, yeah, it is almost like a deal with the devil, because there's this constant requirement to produce, and like to produce content, and content that hits with an audience that can keep you expanding. Because that's the thing. It's like you look at a lot of these big streamers, it's like they're always looking to expand, very much like how a sales department is constantly looking to expand. Streamers have the same issue, is that they have to constantly create content that reaches new market. And to do that as an individual, I would say that is more corroding to the soul than it is as a department. So it's almost more difficult to retain your individual soul as a streamer. Because you look at a lot of these streamers and it's like, you've been doing this for this long, and it's like, it's almost like they're just churning content on a template and just doing the same thing over and over and hoping that it still keeps hitting. And sometimes
Yeah, even
they do really ridiculous shit just to get their names on the what is it, like those websites that are like Polygon or something. Like, they're not actually news sites. They're not actually news sites, like The Verge, stuff like that, but they're news sites. You know what I'm saying? It's almost
yeah,
like online, like Popular Kid,
yeah,
like magazine.
online media, yeah.
Yeah. So it's like, because they're trying to stay relevant, like with Ninja. Like, he was constantly trying to stay relevant after,
I mean, how much
what.
I was going to say, like, this applies to furry, but also outside of furry. And I think that's just where furry, we see a lot of connections to the things outside because it really is just amalgamation of people from all sorts of corners. Um, but how many of these quote unquote content creators, streamers, let's players, reviewers of things, some of them used to start out with really like well planned, crafted content, and now the internet as a whole has forced this growth that it's not crafted anymore, and you almost are better off watching the clips where they had that isolated moment of entertainment, and the rest it just is. And then now it's just so much of a grind, and everyone's grinding themselves down, and that ties back to furry because a lot of furries are trying to do that stuff, especially with the avatars that you can throw on your streams.
Haha. Ha. And that's another thing that makes me better. And it's like, I don't want to like just start being a sexist, but I am gonna be sexist. I'm just kidding. I'm not. Calm down, guys. So one thing that made me upset, I think it was yesterday while we were streaming Party Animals, is I had a Nitro Wolf, that's not me, who took my name about a year ago. And that's fine. That's fine. I'm happy to accept new Nitro Wolves. Like, sure. I've been around for 23 years. Like, this character, Nitro Wolf, has been around for 23 years. So I have to come to the acceptance of the fact that, people are going to naturally come to use the name Nitro Wolf. Like, I don't have it patented. I don't have a copyright on it. I guess it's just a name, like how people are named Bobby all the time, how people get named, Susan all the time. eventually there's going to be more Nitro Wolf, and they're not going to be me. But I had one yesterday that came into my stream, and I had become aware of them much before that. So that's the thing, as I never expected them to actually cross my path. And I kind of wish they had never crossed my path, because this is one thing I don't like, is when an individual specifically sexualizes their character in a certain way. And I'm calling you femboy twinks out that wear thigh highs in your streams. I'm calling you out. I don't like you. That's cool if that's your hobby, but just unsubscribe right now. Get out of the stream. I hate you. And this other Nitro Wolf is a femboy twink avatar who wears thigh highs and, sits on stream for a couple hours every day going, ooh, ooh, I love you guys. Come watch my stream. Let me shake my booty for you. And I absolutely, that makes me a different kind of vicious. It makes me so angry. I'm not saying Nitro Wolf is hyper masculine, definitely not. But what I'm saying is that I just do not like people who leverage the levers of sexual desire to get what they want. I don't like it.
Yeah.
Not saying we should shut down every single fucking thigh high booty streamer out there, or that we should shut down, sexual streams. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that it's not for me. And I don't appreciate it when they cross my path and then their audience fucking shames me somehow. They're repeating there can only be one, there can only be one, and it's you know what?
Ew.
If there was only one, it would be me, because I would win that fight.
You were there first.
You guys are coming on my stream and making fun of me for not having the same level of viewer count as this other person. Why are you doing that? Why are you being overly rude to somebody you just met? That's just, I don't know. I don't agree with it. Obviously people are going to do whatever the fuck they're going to do, but that hit me a different way yesterday. It hit me different.
I'll just say it. Being an asshole on the internet just makes you trash. I mean, unless you're dealing with someone who's legitimately, I'm talking irrefutably, you look at a post, you can see that they are trash, talking Nazi, racist. The stuff is right there on the table for everyone to see. Absolutely no shame. Yeah, those people, fine, whatever. I don't care. Be an ass to them. Being an ass to just other people, though, you're fucking trash. We need to get past that point of the internet. Or we're going to wind up with what I said earlier. You're going to be tied to your real life identity, because a lot of these politicians will not give much thought to that shit. They will tie it to some moral conundrum, some sort of issue, and it'll pass. And a lot of you are going to be fucked on it.
Yeah. That goes for you too, hyper Republicans. You're going to get got.
Dude, some of these people already have gotten themselves in trouble running their mouths on Facebook and stuff because they way crossed the line not thinking about the fact that you legally can't say some things. And then they say them, and they say them over and over, tied to their real identity. Then they haunt the FBI or something. Next thing you know, someone's at the door because they've threatened some high-level politician repeatedly with pictures of them holding a gun. And it's yeah.
Yeah, and
you should have seen it coming.
And I'll say my stance again about that. When it comes to firearms, it's I don't disagree with you having a personal firearm for defense, but stop fucking posting it online. Keep it to your fucking self. If you're posting it online for everybody to see, clearly you're giving off an intent to make a threat. Yes. You can't just sit there and say, "Oh, well, this is just my hobby." Blah 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 blah. It's really? like that's the thing. It's like what I was saying with the whole the furry fandom is not the place for that. It's like you have these people with full military gear and pseudo firearms, and it's like that's a massive red flag for me because that should not be the fantasy that you're heading into. And this is coming from somebody who was in the Marine Corps for 10 years. Like it wasn't just my job, it was my lifestyle. And I don't agree with furries fucking consistently posting military first stuff like as their sona. Like I almost take that as stolen valor. Like that makes me upset on so many different levels that most people don't understand.
Well, like that post I sent you the other day, because I have a WTF moment. It did feel very weird when someone's Sona was drawn like they were going into battle. It did feel almost like stolen valor. Like you're not actually there, and why are you wooing, cutesy, basically people killing other people?
Yeah, and that's the thing. It's like the whole thing with comedy, like there's a fine line between making fun of something just to make the situation more lighthearted and being a complete fucking psychopath.
And if you don't know that line, you're not ready for that role yet.
Yeah, like it's just not okay. It's not
Yeah.
okay.
Well, I mean,
Blah.
isn't that part of the issue of the internet is instead of people now starting out in a room full of 10 or less people learning a craft of some sort, it's now in front of thousands or hundreds of thousands, and they're not ready for that. And now it's on blast, whatever misstep they make. I see people in furry congratulating others for getting, 10,000 followers or something. And it's just like, they're 16. Why do you think they're ready for that? Like
Yeah,
most people at
that's
25 aren't ready for that.
no. No, it's like that like that's the thing. It's like I've never spoken to more than like 100 people at a time. And that was like during formations and stuff. Like I have no fucking clue what I would do if I had to speak to like 3,000 people in one auditorium.
And how many of those 3,000, if you misword something, that's the part of it they remember. They
Yeah.
remember the interpretation based on that miswording.
Yeah. So, yeah, it's like people who shouldn't have platforms, who have no sort of experience with and that's the thing. It's difficult because it's like it's almost like the whole Wild West thing. It's like whoever gets a platform is going to get a platform. Like it's open free game, like whoever, whatever. And it's like it's hard to say who should be allowed and should not be allowed because
I mean, I ever,
if you start doing the whole fucking like the whole system, like the blue check mark thing, like people are going to get really upset real quick.
I have a suggestion to the fandom and internet as a whole. Bifurcate your stuff. Stop making Discord servers and throw everyone you kind of like into it. Stop making everything Twitter only. Separate your interests. I mean, that even goes back to the gun thing. When you post that for hundreds of thousands or millions of people to see, it has a different meaning than when you share it with a smaller group that has the full context of it. And you get rid of a lot of these problems. Just keep it focused. Yes, you can bring people in, they can leave if it's not for them, but start personalizing it a little bit more. It'll start reining in the chaos. I mean, back in the day, we had message boards where if you went off topic too much, you could get warned, your post would get deleted. And I mean, eventually you could get banned just for not listening to, the admin saying, this is for this topic. Don't go off
Yeah.
on these other tangents.
Yeah. Fucking and that's one thing I just want to say. I don't completely know if it's on topic. Like I would like to see people like genuinely interacting just for any level of thing, like positive, negative, like almost equally, but whatever. Because like I said earlier in the week, I had somebody not only spy on me or a group of people spy on me, they directly asked me to delete a post that I made when this person doesn't even follow me. Like, how does that work? Like, what's going on here? You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't even
The
I don't.
algorithm could have shown it to them.
And then you make it even weirder. You know what I'm saying? Cuz
Yeah.
like, why are you asking me to do something on a more personal level when you're not even part of my audience? Like, what? You're not even in my in group. You're not, as far as I know, we're not even actually friends. So why are you asking me to go out of my way to do something, you know? I don't know. It's just people are just consistently so worried about being shoved into a negative light. Like, I know you are, Frosty. I know you're constantly thinking about that,
Mm-hmm.
being shoved into the negative. Because
Basically, yeah.
earlier you made a post saying that you filter things out like 50 times just because you don't want anybody to have a bad opinion about you.
Mm-hmm. And well, I'm like that in real life too. Like I've always had an issue with that.
But yeah, the
Like,
sad reality is that they're still going to have a bad opinion of you.
right. And it's like
Can
at
you hear me
that
at all?
point there's yes. Um, but yeah, like at that point, if they still hate me, I could at least oh no.
That's fine. You can keep talking.
Like I'll know, like I'll feel better that it wasn't because of my doing. It was just whatever opinion they have of me, and there's nothing that I can do to fix that.
Yeah,
Even still, it
there's.
hurts because it's like, it's back to what I was saying with one of like the original episodes. It's like I do have a hard time knowing that there's someone out in the world that doesn't like me. And I don't know if I'll ever get over that,
Oh,
but
there's not just someone. There's about. I would say about a good 5 billion people that don't like you.
really.
Oh, yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can
Yeah.
hear you. Ghost in the house. Woo!
What happened?
Quest died.
Oh.
But I can hear you.
We've
Can you
been
hear me?
streaming for 2 hours.
Yeah. We turned this into a longer episode than it should have been. We're really aiming for 45 minutes, so we gotta start closing it up because yeah, it's been a minute. We've been talking the
Mm-hmm.
whole time basically.
Yeah.
But yeah, I would wager that, you know, a good 5 billion people don't actually like you, or they're like disinterested in you, or have like malicious intent. And you would say,
Yeah.
"Oh, that's a lot of people. How did you come up with that number?" Because most people suck. And that's the truth. The truth of this reality is that most people suck.
yeah.
Yeah. And it's like there's a lot of situations where you're just forced into interactions like friend groups when they bring in another people and they expect you to, you know, be friends with them too because, they're friends with the person you're friends with, and it's like, it may not work out that way.
Uh, Real quick, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. Battery died. I'm getting back in. Sorry about that.
Ooh, that's okay. And it's like at work. Like at work, you're forced to be there with people, and
Mm-hmm.
sometimes, and like I said, in those situations, I would prefer to be rejected as quickly as possible. Like, and I've heard this before, is that as you get older, you have less tolerance for your time getting wasted. And I am absolutely feeling it. Absolutely 100% feeling that, where as I'm getting older, I absolutely despise somebody just wasting my time. Like even
Yeah.
even even the perception of somebody wasting my time pisses me off. But yeah, it's like oh, excuse me. Um yeah, I understand there is unintentional things that introverts do sometimes. And that's why like I've made my personal decision to stop making friends, especially like now in the furry community, cuz like uh the majority of furries do fall under a category of introvert. And with introverts like comes a whole different set of problems that most how to make friends books don't cover. Like like you said, like all this like increased anxiety or like just like social battery, like
Hmm.
where they fizzle and pop like almost instantly. Because yeah, I've had a couple instances where, I've been told, "Oh, you're too much." Like I didn't expect it to be this much. Like I kind of just wanted to see what would happen, and I figured out that I don't want this. And I'm like, and it took you 2 months. Why?
Yeah.
So yeah, I just wish people would be better at identifying what they want and rejecting quicker. Like I said, I'm not super complicated. Like I'm really direct. Like really all it takes is clicking on my profile and then swiping up. Like take 1 minute and you'll know exactly what I'm about. And like and that too, I've had instances where like people will say the dumbest fucking things. They'll be like, "I know what you are." And I'm like, "Yeah, what am I?" And they'll never actually say what I am, and it's like this really weird like, "Okay, so what am I?"
They're fucking with you for
Hmm.
funsies, but you weren't in on the funsies.
Well, it came from somebody who was trying to shape me out as a abusive manipulator, so I don't think it was funsies.
Oh,
Yeah.
no, that doesn't sound fun.
No, it wasn't fun. Yeah, I like a lot of the time I don't know what people think I am. Like I have no idea.
Yeah.
I always come back to I think we've put too many people together on the internet and expect them to get
Get along.
along. And then
No.
they want personal connections, but you can't make a personal connection easily with 500 people. That's why your favorite rock band, they have their group, and how even when you see celebrities at a party, they're still kind of in a small group because you can't directly interact on a personal level with that many people. And it's not just you telling a story, that back and forth interaction does not work easily or at all in a large group.
Yeah.
Hmm.
That was another thing that pissed me off. Where this person kind of like it felt like they grouped me in. Like the person that told me that furries can't be trusted. I feel like they grouped me in with like everyone else, and it's like no, 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 no. Like I'm not trying to say things with like an air of superiority, but I'm trying to say I'm outside the scope of what your average furry is. I'm not even close to that. And the way that I've described it is that, I'm a lifetime permanent identity furry. Like I am a rock throw and a skip away from being a Therian.
Yeah.
So, like, I'm nowhere near your like average regular furry person.
The fact that someone wants to group all furries together is a red flag to me because there's so many subgroups. You have the like usually newer, the woo cutesy, basically role playing
Mm.
furries. You have the ones that it's very sexual. You have people who are more Therian. And then within all of these, you still also have all the subcategories of interests. I mean,
Yeah.
it just,
Mhm.
and I'm oversimplifying, so you really can't just like group them all together into one thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It would have just been better if they fucking said humans can't be trusted, and I'd be like, you're right.
Even better, if they don't trust you, why are they talking to you?
Right.
That's
Yeah,
a thing people need to learn. Just
and
let them
why
figure out.
have we talked for so many hours and exchanged laughs and stories, and somehow I'm still not in the friend group? That's weird.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I've known
That
people in my life that,
that I don't understand.
yeah, there are people that have been in my life, even as I was starting to become more social, because I really didn't get more social till late in high school. And some of those people I've cut out of my life to the extent that I can, which essentially at this point is I won't hear about them unless someone else mentions them, and they will not hear from
No.
me. I mean, it's
Mhm.
these are people I knew IRL, I spent time with, of the same place, sometimes because we had to, sometimes by choice, and they're out of my life because that was what was best. I
You
don't
grew
try and,
up.
yeah,
You
you don't track
grew
them
up.
down. You don't send them shitty messages. They will hopefully better themselves, but it doesn't need to involve me. More people just need to learn that. They don't need to be like, I don't, can't trust you. I don't like you. I'm going to tear you down. Just cut them out of your life. Both parties will be better for it.
Yeah, like
Right.
stop wasting each other's time.
Yes.
Yeah.
Value your own time.
Yeah, that's why I'm done making friends, cuz fuck those guys.
I might have got in ahead of that cutoff, maybe.
What?
I didn't.
Cuz earlier I saw one of my air quotes friends who is really bad at upkeeping with people in general. But they're consistently looking for new friends, but it's like, why? It's a little bit misguided, but it's like, why are you looking for more friends when you can't even maintain your current ones? It's almost like they're looking for the high of making new friends.
Yeah.
That could be.
Because like my pursuit in making new friends was to try to and it's an unrealistic expectation. Like I understand it's an unrealistic expectation, but I kind of wanted to recreate some of the missed opportunities with the whole like no strings attached kind of friendships that you would have in like high school and college. You know what I'm talking about? Just have fun and chill, no strings attached sort of situation. But like people our age always look for strengths. They are always looking for strengths, and it's like extremely disappointing, and it's really hard to find people with the same mindset where they're like okay with just existing.
Nitro, what kind of strings are you referring to? You can be vague.
Well, like the usual strings are like oh, so what kind of financial compensation are you looking for? What kind of sexual favors do you want? Why are you talking to me? Is it to just to get to someone else? Like those kind of strings.
That's a red flag in itself. I mean, some people have been hurt a lot and you can
Oh
get through it
yeah,
and find out
yeah.
they're chill, but some
Yeah,
people need to
that's what I'm talking
reflect.
about when I'm saying like it's like I'm late. Like I'm like way too late because a lot of these people have already been they've already been, you know, through the meat grinder, and they're so destroyed and lack just basic trust and respect that it's like you're never going to get a genuine friendship out of them just because they've been destroyed by other people that came before you.
So
Mhm.
something I want people to think about, especially our generation and younger, being careful about how you approach friendships, like just pushing too many people away or not wanting to make them. When you look at the older generations, like the amount of people I've seen that it's just like, do they have friends? Okay, maybe they did, but how often do they see them? Do they talk to them? I think to like my grandparents and how it seemed like very rarely they saw people, especially the older they got, more of them started dying off. Their ability to interact with them went downhill. But I don't think they called them on the phone much. They didn't go see each other. And it's just like, then I think of my parents' generation, and I think they had even less friends, to be blunt. Like, it's just people, it's so easy to just stop making friends and to lose touch with the ones you have, that if you're going to be pushing people away, you're not just falling into, oh, that's what naturally happens. You are, in a sense, recreating a generational failing or trauma or just whatever you want to call it. It's just because a previous generation did it doesn't mean it was the right way to do it. And we got to be
Yeah.
careful falling into these traps.
Yeah, because like I just yeah, and it's like I'm saying it's unrealistic because it just does not fit with the general expectation of people. Like when I tell people that, I'd be okay with being friends for the rest of our lives, they're like, "That's fucking weird." And I'm like, "Why?" And it's like nobody expects that anymore. They kind of just want like the Apple friendship package where you got to renew it every like 2 years.
Hmm.
So, you have these like I guess short-term friendships, and people make the decision to let things quietly die rather than ending things abruptly, because it's always that way. People are always trying to avoid confrontation, but it's almost more unfair when
And
you let things die very slowly, because it's like you're taking the place of someone else, you know? Like even in friendships, I usually don't forget people. I usually don't forget anyone who I've extensively talked to. But I know that there's people that forget about me, even though I've talked to them extensively. So I don't know. It's that one situation. It's like, oh, it's okay. Like that's just what happens. Like you were saying, oh, it's just what happens. It's like, but why? Why does it need to happen?
I'm not sure what did you have you experienced people, I might have missed this when my battery died. Have you experienced people who just intentionally let stuff slowly die, like they don't let it get revived at some point? Like you don't just reconnect and pick up where you left off?
This one right here.
Yeah.
And she needs to be better about that, and I've talked to her about that. Is like she needs to kill things off immediately. And it's one of the things I strive for is nuking things rather than letting things die slowly and quietly, because we had a situation where she attempted to let things die slowly and quietly, but lo and behold, that person wasn't going to let it go slowly and quietly. So they used all history they could and pulled up all the dirt they could, and they beat us to the punch.
Hmm.
So that's the thing. It's not great to get beaten to the punch, because then you get sucker punched. So it's better to abruptly nuke a friendship and make it public that you are no longer uh, having any contact with this person. Like if it's like on bad terms, like if you're ending on bad terms, you want to establish that history, because the first thing they're gonna do is publish how much of a fucking bad person you are. And at least you have a receipt like, oh, this is why they're doing it. It's because they got dumped.
So this is not just a friendship that's petering off because your lives are going different ways. This is a friendship that it needs to be cut off because you two do not get along anymore. Yeah, things are toxic, and it's been going long enough that you need to break up like people who are dating. Need to end it.
Yeah.
Get out of each other's lives, leave each other the fuck alone, and not make it the rest of the world's problem.
Right.
Yeah, but like, okay, so like even so you're talking more about like the both people are quiet to each other. Like and that's the thing. I guess that's a personality thing, and it's a personality thing that I don't agree with. Because I've actually come back. I've come back to people that I hadn't talked to in like 12 years. And I was like, "Hey, what's up? You want to be friends again?" And more often than not, I've gotten it like, yes. And, we've caught up and everything. But my circumstance wasn't that I had to, by choice, go quiet. It's like I almost like abruptly disappeared off the face of the internet one day. So people honestly would have no idea if I died or not. But with people that like they both go quiet and drift separate ways, like I don't know. I guess it's okay for some people to just never get the closure and always just sit there and wonder, oh, I wonder what happened with that guy.
Well, the drift separate ways I think of as like I've got friendships like that, and I guarantee you I go and reach out to them or they do me and we'll pick up where we left off. That's almost just because nothing is forcing you together and there may be limited overlap in what you both like to do or have time for. It leads to that, which is I feel like is very different from the ones where a friendship needs to end. That relationship is done and it's only gonna be worse if it keeps going.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it's good that people drift apart. It's just it's hard and we make it easier to just not keep it up because it's another stressor in your life to try and make time to go find some game you can play with your friend that you met at a job 4 years ago and you now live in different states or something while they have a kid and some rec sports league they do and you got some other thing going.
I ain't got nothing. I'm sitting at home with a bottle of lube and a box of napkins.
Since when do napkins come in a box?
They're marked with the Chipotle logo on it.
Wow.
Wow. No, yeah, it's like you're right. I mean, it is difficult to manage that sort of stuff. Like, it's not like we're all sitting here with a whiteboard with little stickies with people's name on them. Like, oh, I should probably check up on this person. It's like on my schedule today.
And you could message them or call them or whatever, and they may not have the time or energy to get back to you for a day or two. And in all
you know what?
fairness,
You know what's gonna happen at that point? I'm gonna send them a message right after 24 hours that says, "Yeah, well, fuck you too. You're blocked now. Bye bye." Boop.
I actually have a text from someone that's probably a couple weeks old now, but it's been getting buried by marketing and political spam. I mean, I just haven't had the energy to like rekindle some of that shit. It does get weird, like sometimes just trying to remember to get back to people, especially if it's even though you've known them for years. It's almost like it's that back to the, oh, how are you? Like, how much can I get into in a text message that's not going to become a wall that you don't want to read, Especially I know where it's like, oh yeah, I've been doing all of this for the past several months. A lot to digest for, how are you?
Yeah, but you're gonna get like 5 paragraphs out of me if you ask me how are you.
I need to do that one day.
So don't.
You know what? If it's in DM, it's a lot easier than in a group chat. Because despite tech making it possible, we don't have proper threading in a lot of apps still.
Yeah, that's true. That'd be cool if I could make like a little topic-based forum inside the group chat.
I would be more willing to engage with stuff that I've missed. If I knew it wasn't just going to disrupt, suddenly be like 3 hours later, interrupting some current conversation. Like
you're just gonna drop out of the middle of the fucking blue, like, I fucking hate twinks too. And then nobody knows what you're talking about.
I actually do that a lot on this one group chat. And, like, everyone's just like, OMG, it's Frosty. And then I just disappear again for like 6 months. And then I'm like, wait, what? this, and this. And I'm like, oh my God, you're back. And then goodbye. It's kind of pathetic.
It feels a little bit like, a middle ground between what the hell Discord servers do, which is just try to be an entire platform in a server. And then things like iMessage or Telegram that, like, I guess iMessage does do threading now, but not as well as something like Slack. But then Slack, you still have to create an account for every server. You'd think these would be easy answers, but I think the target is just going to always move. Just like how at one point Facebook and Twitter were great, and now I think we are beyond those. Especially for the fandom.
Something I do miss is Facebook notes. Like, I used to be a huge note creator, and like just a wall of text on whatever subject you were talking about, and then people would just comment on there. But I think they just took notes out, and I don't even think you can put those anymore.
That's just what I assume with most Twitter features. There was something and they took it out. Because that's what it was like coming back to it. And I learned from people still after using it for several months. Oh yeah, the feature you mentioned does exist. I'm like, what? I thought you couldn't make private lists. Like, I don't know. I'm just ready for a new platform. Doesn't try and replicate things. Give people the chance to like split off a bit, make things a little bit more private. You can be semi-open if you need to. I just don't agree with this throw everyone together thing. It just becomes toxic and hard to keep up with. Like, we can't even keep up with DMs. How are we supposed to keep up with public shit and not get overwhelmed?
Yeah.
People literally apologize for being away from Twitter or Blue Sky or whatever for a few days.
I've seen that.
And I'm like, why? You didn't die. You're here. You have a life. It's okay. We're not paying you to be here.
And it's like one of those things, like, I'm sorry, but like, did anybody even really fucking notice?
Often, usually I don't. I would only notice if I had the bell on for you.
That like that's the thing. It's like
it depends on the person, I think.
If you have the bell on, you'll notice, but like other people
well,
know.
Right. If you have, this audience slash fan base that's like based off of a daily stream where it's like this consistent routine, and if you've gotten them into the cycle of routines, which humans are animals of routine, so if the routine is broken, yeah, of course they're gonna fucking notice. But like a lot of these people, they're not very routine based. Like, I'm sorry, but there's like a lot of artists on Twitter where they have like no fucking routine. It's just like random plep. So it's like, if I don't see their posts on a daily basis, like, I honestly don't care. Like, it's like one of those things, and I think most people are the same way when it comes to non-routine content, where it's like, you're probably not going to notice until like something hits you where like, oh hey, I haven't seen a Doza Key in like 2 weeks. I wonder what happened.
I usually was on the For You tab when I used it, so nothing was in chronological order anyway.
Yeah.
But with people that aren't a big name that you know more personally, like, that's when I say go to your Telegram or some other DM app and
hey, are you alive?
Check, yeah, you can check in on it. You can have small conversation, end at that. Like, that's not a big deal. I mean, I encourage people to take stuff there instead of having your private conversation in a thread on fucking Twitter, because it's not private.
Haha. What?
What?
Huh?
Oh. Oh. People, I'm just saying, I slightly tangent there. Just I encourage people to like move beyond a public platform. I mean, do you ever see those things where suddenly the public post turns into a private conversation in a thread? Was what I kind of ended on there. Was take your checking in on people. Like you don't need to apologize publicly. Like a lot of shit doesn't need to be public.
You know what? Yes, I have seen that where two popular people will have a conversation that should have been in private, and I honestly think that part of that is to make people fucking jealous.
Yeah,
And
I can see
I
that.
don't fully know if it's intentional. Like it might be intentional, it might not be, but it's like yeah, there'll be this like thread conversation in public about a private subject, and it's like, oh, okay, you're just doing that to make other people jealous. Like, thanks.
Well, I mean, it's similar. I would think of vague posting. There's a lot of, and I would see this more on Facebook than I have on furry Twitter, but um, just the vague posts people will do that was clearly aimed at someone, and it's not their reflection on how someone's being. It's basically a call out. They're mad at them, and it's
Yeah,
like, why is this public?
that's called a subtweet. It's called a indirect or a
Oh, I
subtweet.
have seen those on Twitter. Twitter, yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then some people have no fucking awareness of what they're doing. Like, I know I called someone out for it, and they're like, "What are you talking about? I don't do that. Like, that's not what I do." And I literally counted like 6 or 7 fucking subtweets in their, in that week. And they were sitting there saying, "Oh, well, I don't do that. I fucking hate people who do that." And it's like, but that's you. Like, you're doing that. So
So
it's almost like these people don't realize what they're doing, but they're calling other people out while they're doing it. It's, hypocrisy.
well, another thing is, you gotta remember Twitter, especially furries, need to think about this because a lot of furry stuff is online. Twitter is not a hobby. If you're bored and asking, like, saying you want to tweet something, don't know what to tweet, then you don't need to tweet. And I mean, you can say things that aren't big and important. A lot of people need to break their soapbox because they feel the need to get up and speak on the fandom, and they've been around the internet for a cup of coffee, and it's like, you know some things, but you will learn a lot more in the coming years. And some of it will be depressing because it will be about people you care a lot about, but you don't
Never,
need to climb on that soapbox right now.
never meet your heroes.
Oh no, some of these people were not here. Oh, that, yeah.
Haha.
Nice. You mean.
Um. Yeah. Yeah. And what is it trying to say? Yeah, you're right. Like Twitter isn't a hobby, and yeah, I find it hard myself to sometimes understand what the fuck I'm even doing on Twitter. Like, Twitter used to be a place where I would come to look at inspiring art, like art that was like, I guess, of a complexity level to where I was like awestruck. Like, wow, this is good. Like, I can recognize that this is good. And lately for me, I've gone through these phases where it's like, oh, here's another adoptable. Here's another full body sketch without a background. Oh, this, that. Oh, you've done the same headshot 50,000 times.
Because some
Oh,
of them for
yeah,
furry
and
haven't
it,
grown.
right. And it's like, and it's like, I just hate going through these realizations where I'm just sitting there. It's like, I haven't fucking seen anything inspiring in like months. Like, did I do this to myself? Like, did the artists that were putting out the inspiring things I somehow got unfollowed? Like, I don't understand what happens sometimes. Because, like, I will sometimes sit there and be like, what the fuck am I doing on Twitter?
This kind of
Like,
goes. Go
I
ahead.
should I should honestly just go back to DeviantArt and sit in the fucking daily deviations.
You
I will
probably should.
say, yeah, like going back to DeviantArt, like, and I was telling you this earlier, but it almost feels like there's a new generation of like feral art on there now, and it's like, wow, where have you guys been the last 5 years? Because it was like there was like nothing for like years. And like I know everyone criticizes DeviantArt for like the whole AI thing and whatever, but it's like it's kind of refreshing to go back to it and seeing like all this different type of like art that like I saw 15 years ago that just disappeared. And it's like I said, I don't know if it's like younger kids that are getting into it or something, but they're definitely not on Twitter. They're on DeviantArt. So I'm like, huh.
And how much of DeviantArt relies on an algorithm that might be pushing the same few people who either got there because they've been there forever or they found other ways to get numbers, but they are dominating it, like versus people who are new. How easy to break in on DeviantArt is new.
See, I don't know because DeviantArt, I feel like so at least on the mobile app, there's like a slider on every image now where it's like, how much more do you want to see of this art? So like I'll be sitting there and I think I almost curated my feed to where it's all feral art now. And it's like, which I like because I want to see more of it. And that's the whole point, I guess, of those sliders. But if you do go on the front page, like you will see different art styles. Like you'll see like dragons, you'll see like just everything you can think of. And so I don't know exactly what the algorithm is, but I know there is one, and I know that you can curate it yourself, which
So I
you
mean
couldn't
this
do before.
I mean this sincerely. Keep me posted on how you feel about that because working in web, I'm always curious what is working for people because I know that changes over time and these sites change.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm
Yeah, and
going to good.
it's different like on Fur Affinity, I noticed, because Fur Affinity, I think it's just the most recent like submission, I think. Um and you'll see that like on the front. But like, yeah, with DeviantArt, they're still doing like daily deviations and stuff like that, but I'm not sure how like the algorithm is for that.
Yeah, I
But
want to say
Well, daily deviations are judged submissions. So they have to be, and I've always disagreed with the judge submissions because it relies on uh, human subjectivity. Like somebody is actually looking at it and saying, like, whether they like it or they think is, up to a level where it deserves a daily deviation, which was a
mhm.
huge constant discourse on DeviantArt. Is like, oh, we think this is a bullshit daily deviation because this artist got preference because they're buddies with the fucking judges.
Yeah, that used to be a problem too. I don't know if that's still anymore, but I'm sure it
uh,
is.
I was wondering who was judging because I know in college doing some online art competitions, you would see things that would be frustrating. And I would see some less artistic competitions too, where there'd be something that it just from a technical and artistic standpoint was not great. But people knew how to share it to their friends and it'd get a lot of views, or they'd have their hot friend in it and it would get a lot of likes and stuff. And so these
Mhm.
were getting pushed up versus stuff that you could clearly tell took hours would be in the middle or barely getting any traction. And it's stuff that's like, holy crap, that was cool. But they just didn't know how to market their stuff, or they didn't harass their friends on Facebook to go, vote for them. They didn't
Yeah.
DM people
Yeah.
that hadn't voted. There's people who they've checked in with you for a third time, seeing if you voted or shared it with someone. And I was curious if, does DeviantArt do that, or is it all judge based?
I think it's
It
judge based.
yeah. It's like you can vote. You can vote for a submission to be requested for review, but that's completely up to the subjective review of one of the panel people.
Yeah.
Yeah, Blue Sky is going a little bit different direction. Is kind of the opposite of that, where I don't think they have an algorithm yet. So in some ways, it's kind of nice, but it's been hard for some artists because it is very chronological. But I've seen good artists there and actually started doing commissioning people versus Twitter, where it was a lot of the YCH of the day and other things that you just never were you didn't watch. They might have been okay, but didn't feel worthwhile.
Mhm.
That too. I myself am probably done with commissions. Like,
I mean,
it's a like it's on like a dual front. Like, not only am I done making friends, I'm also done with commissions because on both ends, it's dealing with people's bullshit.
I'm on the
Yeah.
opposite. I'm starting to get commissions from people, but I mean,
Good luck.
it's a little bit nicer. Well, it's nicer when there's not as much noise. It feels like it's easier to see who's actually churning out as opposed to like here's someone else with another set of emergency comms they're requesting, and it's like, don't you have a backlog? Like, yeah.
I just recently saw somebody who failed me on a $300 commission. They got charged back and they were sitting there bitching and complaining like, "Don't do this to people. Like, don't charge them back. Like, it affects their lifestyle." And I'm like, "Did you fucking deliver your commission? Cuz you're leaving that detail out."
That is a tricky thing of starting a business. Another part of the fandom that was surprising to me coming back to it was seeing the level of business people are running, but how badly a lot of it's run. People lack project management skills, which are they are tricky as hell. It's one of those deceptive skill sets. And so
Yeah.
they basically overestimate how much they can deliver, and then they just keep digging their hole. And
Yeah,
at
it's
some
like
point they need to put your business on hold, get a side job, balance it out. I know it's all easier said than done, but it's hurting the fandom, to be blunt, when we see these people with multi-year art queues or 4-year fursuit queues, and it's like, why are you taking their money? It's not an
yeah,
escrow.
no. Yeah, no, that's the thing. It's like with the whole thing I just mentioned about chargeback. It's like it's the only fucking tool we have as consumers. Like like why am I going to give you an interest-free loan that you're not going to deliver on for a year that I don't even know if you're going to deliver on?
Yeah.
Like and that's the big question that I was asking there. It's like, did she actually even deliver? Like, why are you fucking complaining that you got charged back? Like, when you probably actually do deserve the chargeback based on their history. Like, obviously, I'm not advocating for people doing chargebacks when they get a product. Like here's the thing. It's like if you get a final product and you end up closing the request, like, yeah, that one's on you. Like, the chargeback should not happen. Like, you accepted it. Yeah, you didn't fully like what you got, but you still closed the request. You said it
And
was
it
fine.
might have been appropriate for the price range too. That's the thing people got to remember.
Yeah.
You might
Yeah.
have done $100 thing, and if that doesn't mean what you're thinking might be their $400 product. Like, sorry, next time save up a little more. Some of these things
Mm.
are fine art.
Is it fine art when it's the same headshot 50,000 times?
Some points it does become a technical exercise.
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
say that with
and
love.
that's no. Here's a differentiation that a lot of these artists don't understand. Oh, and I'm speaking like I've been through it. You know what? I can still have an opinion even if I'm not directly tied into it. So, what a lot of these artists don't understand is that there's a difference between just churning out work and actually being creative. So,
Yes.
a lot of these people like they don't know which side they're landing on. Like with the people that are just constantly day in day out making the same headshot, making the same pose, making the same adoptable. Like, that's just work. That's just corporate basically. You're just
Yeah.
creating a little fucking cookie cutter product. That's not creativity. Like, yeah, you're still an artist, but you're like a factory floor artist. Like, you're not actually being that creative.
Can I jump in? The fact that you said factory. So, for those who don't know, I got a BFA, and when I graduated, one of the few things you can get, I was building e-learning courses, those stupid training courses your jobs probably have made you take. And I felt like a factory worker kind of doing that crap because even though it still wanted design skills, you were kind of just churning out things that felt very samey. And yes, that is a thing. It is a valid way of earning income and using your skills, but it is a different application of your skills than creating more fine art, more creative art. On the
Yeah,
plus
and
side, you're not gambling and coming home with possibly no income for 6 months because you had to do 30 iterations of an image before you had something that could sell. And 30 might be underselling. It could be 100 friggin' iterations where you get that fine art painting that will sell for maybe thousands of dollars or something, or several hundred. Like, but that's the process, and that's the gamble of that
well,
big sell versus
yeah.
many mind melting things. Sorry.
And another thing that I was trying to tie in is like the product type that you put out as an artist should also reflect the type of customer support you give. Like like I recently saw like a trending post between artists where they're like they were shifting and changing the colors of personas
Mm.
away from the reference. And a lot of people are like, yeah, I change the colors based on what I think is looks best. And I'm like, okay, that's a fine line because what type of product are you? Are you a fucking cookie cutter artist or are you like a fine art artist where you've been given that artistic freedom to do whatever the fuck you want? Because if you're not uh clearly agreed to be in artistic freedom, if a customer says, I don't like what you did with my colors, you need to change them back, you don't get to fucking bitch and complain that they're stepping on your creativity.
You're right.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen a lot of sonas where, to be blunt, the colors hurt my
Are
eyes.
ass.
Like,
Yes, they're
yes,
ass. But
but
that's the thing, it's a product
yes,
coming out of a factory.
they're being a technical artist, not a fine artist. And I want to keep things from going on a pedestal because I don't want technical artists to feel bad. They are earning a
No,
living
yeah,
with their
yeah.
skills.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's
digital
the same.
artists,
That's the same
good.
with the same thing with photography. You have
Yeah.
photographers that do product photography, and all they do is take pictures of stupid little bottles all day long, but they're getting paid. As
Or they
opposed
take
to
pictures of
if
people's
I went
families.
out, yeah, if I went out there and fucking did artistic photography and traveled the world, like, I am taking a massive gamble to see if any magazine will pay me a considerable amount to make up for all the travel to follow my creative pursuits. It's like,
Or a
but like you
customer will
said,
buy prints.
but
Yeah.
like you said, you know, the technical job, which is taking pictures of stupid little bottles and toys and jewelry all day long, is gonna keep you fed and it's gonna keep you, in a consistent paycheck cycle, as opposed to creative photography.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that was the thing going for BFA, and then seeing people pop up suddenly, no degree, doing all those portrait studios. Like, it hurt at one point because it's like that was a part of a skill set I had struggled with, but photography was not my like concentration. It was like adjacent to it. And I mean, to be blunt, we all find things that we end up being good at, and some people naturally end up being better at them. But in the end, they all end up taking a risk, and those people, their business will be, unless they want to take another big gamble, taking pictures of people and their kids until they close those doors on that or decide to take another gamble. So,
Yeah,
will they
until
get bored
they
with it?
they get enough to make like a pillow, a buffer, so that they can try to jump off of that to follow the creative pursuit.
Yeah. And some people, that's what they're happy doing because other than that, they were, stocking shelves at Walgreens or something. And that's not to put that down. It's just, we all know from experience, retail and food and stuff like that is, you're not the least bit appreciated. So it is a step up.
Yeah, like that's the thing. It's like not everybody gets to follow their dreams. Sometimes you need to make a decision to what's going to make you money versus your passion. And you got to make those compromises. Like for me, like photography was a big part of, my early life, and it was one of my big hobbies and still was. And lately I've, gotten away from it, but, it's still part of my identity. But I couldn't choose. I could not choose photography as a lifestyle because it just did not seem like something feasible to me economically.
Yeah.
Like there's just no way that I was going to compete with a new market that was oversaturated with all these, stock pictures. It's like I couldn't even get into the standard industry.
The
I could
stock industry is picky too, because mostly what they want is what sells, and a lot of that is very corporate-oriented pictures.
Yeah.
No, you're right about saturated. I mean, the best thing I can say, especially tying this back to the fandom, is if you are doing something as a business and you find yourself struggling, find someone you trust that can be your business partner. It doesn't mean you're hiring them full time. You definitely are probably not doing that. But you need someone who you can kick that stuff to, who can say, like, this is how much you've shown you can do in a month. You're not doing more than that. They might even say less and then build up from that. It all comes back to just keeping things reined in. And then if you're getting burned out on that, they can either help you reorient with your finance or something else, or find someone who's willing to do a loan or invest in the business to either grow it or take it in a new direction. Like the second you do this to help you pay bills, you're running a business. And that's a thing that to help yourself and the fandom, it's got to be taken seriously as a business, because
Yeah,
a lot
but
of people are failing and they're making everyone else's problem.
yeah, yeah, and a lot of people aren't making it a serious situation. They're just excusing it away, like saying, "Oh, well, we have life situations." It's like, I understand everybody has life situations. Like, like this week, I had a really bad week at work. Like, I had to show up late every day at work because I've been sick. I've low energy, basically fatigued all the time. So yeah, we all have bad days. We all have bad weeks. Hell, you could even say you could have a bad month, but you still have to show up, because if you don't show up for a whole month, it's over. Like, come on.
You don't show up for a whole month. There are jobs that they have, if you miss X amount of days with no communication, they consider a resignation. I've had that in employment agreements before, and these are not in like right to work states either.
Yeah. That's technically somewhere in my contract too. It's like I think it's like 2 days without letting anyone know. They can just boop, bye-bye.
Yeah, it's remote positions definitely have that. I mean, I've had days even working for myself now where I've sat down and I've not felt like my brain was fully there, and I grinded through something notable at least to get something done, because I would be less happy with myself. Now, should I have done that? Maybe, maybe not. Maybe I need to take some time off, but I will straight up say I'm bad about like knowing where my stress levels are, where some people are bad about committing to working enough.
Yeah.
It's a hard balance. I think lately I
But
need to
yeah,
spend
but
more time
like
working.
yeah, a lot of Twitter artists are like they want this prestigious stay-at-home job, and there like there's these opportunities for these like industrial artists to, try to go get at a studio or something like that. But yeah, I understand that too is oversaturated because, everybody's trying to fucking find a studio to get into, but it's like welcome to the struggle. Like that's just what it is. And, if you want to maintain your little prestigious, very hard sought after like work at home job, you kind of have to like make some compromises with your customers, because those customers are what is allowing you to do that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I would say find a way to basically, 'cause people have times where, yeah, you get sick and can't work. Set your prices appropriately so that you have money to fall back on for that, so you don't oversell commission slots, and make sure you can do enough. If you want to do the fine art, creative stuff, have some of those, and then fill in with stuff you can crank out. I mean, you
Yeah.
don't have to run your business supporting everyone who $20 is a significant amount to. I don't
Yeah,
want to
and
punch down on them, but those people
no,
aren't paying your bills.
yeah, no, and I wish some people would get some reality checks, but it's really hard to reality check people in the furry artist market, because it's like what I was talking about. Like you have a lot of these artists where they got just popular enough where they want to charge like a week's worth for like 4 hours of work. And it's like, I really wish you could teach those people a lesson, but then someone comes along and actually fucking pays it. And I'm like, well,
Mm-hmm.
I don't feel
well,
as bad if it's working at that time. It's just coming back from that number might be tricky for them later. But I do want to clarify, like,
oh yeah,
if you are doing a bunch
once that market crashes, those people are fucked.
well, I do want to clarify, if you're doing a lot of those $20 pop things, if there are things you can crank out in a matter of like, let's say 15 minutes or like kudos, like that's probably the appropriate amount. Like if there's a market for it, I'm not gonna knock you down for taking on a bunch of those. It's when you charge $20 and it takes you 3 hours. Did you make minimum wage? Plus you have the overhead
No.
of running the business. That's not a good shot. It's 20 is a strain for people. It is a luxury good. It sucks for them. But there's probably people out there who put out templates and stuff. Those people can find something. It's just, let's be real. The phone company will shut your phone off. Your landlord will kick you out. If you're owning a house, the bank will kick you out. It sucks, but there's a reality to these bills. You have to pick level that you can do and make sure it's covering your damn bills.
Yeah. Yeah.
Honestly, I'd say think about it like you have a business partner. Would there be someone giving you shit for taking so long on something for what you're charging? And if so, then that voice is telling you don't do that thing. Charge more, change what you're doing.
Yeah. What is saying? Oh, what? That's the thing. You're asking people to team up together, and it's like that's coming from people that don't fucking trust anybody. Like,
Well, that's a deeper issue that's going to cause problems in all sorts of areas then.
yeah,
But your partner's got to be invested in it somehow too. If they don't deliver, there's got to be the right to fire them. And that's a problem of like, yeah, it should be someone you trust enough, but there's also that problem of working with your friends who won't deliver.
You're asking people to do legal paperwork when they can't even reply within 24 hours?
And there's a reason my business partner is someone who runs his own damn business. I mean, don't get me wrong, I need to just call his ass because lately he's not been replying to some shit, but it's also not been dire shit. So
yeah,
we're going to be getting there closer to the end of the year, and then we will be on probably some multi-hour call discussing shit. But, I trust him. When it comes time to file paperwork, yeah, his happy ass is going to be filing stuff that I know he's done before.
Yeah.
He'll earn his keep. I trust him because he's done it before.
Yeah. I don't know. The point of all this, the point of this whole episode is that ultimately we can't just do all of this alone. At the end of the day, like, you're gonna need somebody.
But not everybody. Once you involve everybody, shit catches fire.
Yeah. Yeah. You just do your best to be genuine and authentic, and don't be too afraid to get canceled, because you're just gonna end up fucking becoming a shell. You're It's like the thing where, people will bounce between friend groups and they'll just be a completely different person around other people.
Yeah.
Yeah. Those big numbers are a bad thing in the end, really.
Yeah.
Focus less on those numbers. Most of those people, you are a TV channel at best.
That's sad.
I mean, you can't make thousands of legitimate friends. It's just there's not enough time.
Right. And that was there's this book I read. It was about how to make friends, and it talks about that specifically about this guy. And yeah, I get it. He's like an outlier or whatever, but he was exceptionally successful at being a politician because he would remember somebody's first and last name and then 3 fun facts about them, basically. And he would remember them for like months later, years later. And he was capable of doing that for like a couple thousand people. But like the guy was like a freak of nature, basically. And I'm like, that's silly and ridiculous because he doesn't actually know those people. He just knows their first name, last name, and 3 fun facts about them. But
And if people,
sometimes that's all people want, honestly. And
some
it's
of it
sad.
is into that manipulative thing, because as soon as you mentioned that, I thought of an ex-friend who I hinted at earlier, I think, who did mention like he admired people who knew how to control a room. And I'm just like, and it
Whoa,
was in those manipulative ways.
that's scary.
Yeah, and I'm just like, because none of it's genuine.
I
It's
love
all about
people
getting
with a
what you want.
power fantasy.
Yeah, and this person has pisses away any shot at power or friendship. They are self-destructive and don't know it.
Sad.
Yeah. But I did that thing I said earlier. I cut them out of my life, and things are better because of it.
Sad.
Furries need to learn that.
Yeah. No, it's like no, like I do want an audience and I do want to be seen and heard, but it's like a lot of the time I do ask myself, it's like when is it enough? Like when do you take your chips and cash out? And honestly, like I feel like I could do that now. I feel like I could take my chips now and cash out and never have like reached any sort of audience. But also at the same time I'm like, do I actually enjoy this? Do I actually enjoy like talking? And it's like, yeah, I fucking talk for hours. And it's like most of the time, like nobody's around to listen, or I'm like talking to myself and coming up with all these scenario simulations and coming up with models and trying to psychoanalyze people to come up with like answers for what they've done. And yeah, I understand. Like sometimes that's not super healthy because then I'm not thinking about myself. I'm like thinking about other people. Like I'm thinking for other people instead of thinking about me. So I'm almost like selfless in a way that doesn't matter. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Something to think about in terms of the audience. The reason I hesitate to talk about certain things more publicly is I'm always concerned when you or someone else has an audience and then you end up in that side of their audience is the people who might listen to something you're saying aren't the ones that need to be listening. Something a lot of like some of these artists and fursuit makers and other business owners, like I always worry the ones who see the complaints are the ones and listen to them are the ones that didn't need to, the ones that don't need to be cutting their prices, that are keeping a reasonable queue, who aren't be manipulating people, and the ones that should be listening to it are too arrogant or just don't happen to see it. And
Like
then we have people overcorrecting that we're doing just fine and should stay the course.
Yeah, no, it's like what I said. We don't, as a community of that's the thing. I'll take it back. Not as a community, but as the paying customer driving force. Because not every furry in the community is a paying customer. And that needs to be understood. Like, I don't give a fuck what the average furry thinks. Like, if they're not paying money, like, shut the fuck up, please. Like, I've seen so many posts, so many, I can't even count them, where they'll be like, oh, you should raise your prices. And then the artist asks them, are you interested in a commission? It's like, well, I can't afford it right now. So why the fuck did you say that?
If they raise their prices and they can't afford the current one, how are they going to sell more slots?
Like, who are you speaking for? Like, and it's this weird cycle where all these people who don't actually contribute in a financial manner to the community, like, think they should have a say. like where they're like, "Oh, well, I want my favorite artist to do well. So I want their paying customers to pay more." It's like, "But what are you doing? Like you have never even commissioned this artist. Like why are you like forcing them, like advising them to increase their prices when you have no effect on the market?"
Yeah. When I'm thinking of people who've said to raise prices, I'm thinking of people who've had fursuits in the past, got them for like 2K or maybe a little more, and they've bought since their favorite makers have raised prices, and we're part of the people telling them to, charge more because they were overworking themselves, and it wasn't sustainable to them as a person or a business. And yeah, and those people continue to support after that, as opposed to whatever you're seeing, which is clearly some weird opposite thing of people talking too much.
Yeah, it's like just shut up. Like you don't even have money for this. Like don't make financial suggestions. Suggestions. Um what's the other one I've seen? There's two. There's the person who says increase your prices.
The people who say they charge too much or bitch anytime stuff goes up, I'm guessing.
There's people that become fucking ballistic when they see something. When like I see certain animations or like products that they'll charge like 300, 400, and I'm like that's not worth that. That's like 10 hours out of your day. That's not worth what you think it's worth. But like I said, people will pay it, but then you have the people that go ballistic saying, that will actually say it's like, "Oh, your fucking prices are way too high. Like how dare you?"
Hmm.
And it's like almost they're almost just as weird because uh they probably wouldn't have even bought it at a reasonable price either.
Yeah. Some things also take deceptively longer to do, and some people work slower. I think about stuff I've made in the past, and I'm surprised how long it took. But those were often projects where there was no direction, and friends or people who commission you with no direction. It can be the worst because they have a vague idea, then you have to fill in like a million little holes. And
Yeah.
don't do that if you're commissioning someone or you're paying them for an entire price, including storyboarding and shit. That's what I've learned over the years is do everything in phrases. And if they're not going to pay for that, you don't want the work. And if you need the work to pay bills, maybe it's time for a different line and make that a part-time. I'm literally thinking of work I've done in the past, and I'm like, God, I should have done that different. It wasn't worth whatever the friend paid me for it. And they didn't use it because of, we didn't go through the proper steps. You will probably never see that shit because of that.
Ass.
It was okay, but yeah, it was literally nothing special.
Well, I've had a few experiences with having to do work on the side for someone, and I would just say you need to have reasonable leniency. Like I was actually with a VR chat avatar where I had everything put together. I fucking uploaded everything, and then once I uploaded it, it's like, ah, fuck, the dynamic bones are screwed. Like it's just a static avatar. The mouth's not moving. The Vizim's got screwed up. No ear wiggle, no jiggle physics, nothing. And I was like, oh, I screwed this up. Like I'm gonna need some more time to like troubleshoot and fix this. And
Yeah.
that person got upset at me, and I'm like, I'm not charging you for this. Like I understand that that was my issue, just because I'm still figuring out like these little bugs and little mistakes where a pathway is broken, like a link is broken and it didn't properly upload
Yeah.
or something.
The irony is sometimes the best customers are the people who've done that kind of work themselves before and just don't want to do this or have time for this project, or they like your style in it. Because then
Yeah.
they know that there's shit that goes wrong and they understand it, which is fucky because these are the people who have the least reasons typically to be paying someone to do it.
Yeah. Yeah, like how had to hold some artists' hands and like draw shit myself, and I'm like, should I be paying myself right now or what?
Look, when you do my avatar, don't feel rushed at all.
Should I like pay myself?
I mean, transferring from one account to the other, I mean, you can do that already.
Yeah. No, it just that's what I'm saying. It's like there needs to be some leniency for like if they actually like if someone actually delivered you a product and it's not quite there and they're willing to work with you, you need to just just chill out. Like you're not gonna die.
Honestly, I don't know what some of these people like. I'm shocked. Is there not a platform? And I thought Fiverr was kind of like this, but I've never used it. Like, is there not a thing where people formally send you a thing, approve to approve or give feedback on and sign off on? Like, it's just wild to me. There's so many, there are stories of chargebacks and other things. Like, people do so much through Gmail, and it's like structure. The community could really use more structure for art, for business protections and customer protections.
That's the thing. It's like there's no fucking agreement on who uses what, and then even when there is agreement, like if people start using Trello as a step by step, like you're asking, like there are websites like I think Trello does allow for approvals where the artist will put the sketch up, they'll send you a link to the Trello, and then it'll pull up the card saying, "Do you approve this or not?"
Hmm.
And then it'll go to the next step, and then they'll line it, ink it, and then it'll be like, "Do you approve this or not?" And then the final product comes out, and it puts, "Is this ready to close, or would you like to file like a change request?" Blah blah blah. And that's a fantastic system. Like that works amazing.
That
And
sounds like a business system.
those are like my favorite kind of like exchanges. But then you have somebody like hint, some person that I know, where they fucking absolutely fucking refuse to make any sort of fucking queue, any sort of like digital form. They just want to do everything through DMs, and they want to be a fucking I don't know what. Like, and it's so annoying because they're the type of person who disappear for like 48, a week, and then they'll come back and be like, "Oh, your commission's done." And it's like, "No, it's not done. You made
Yeah.
this mistake, and you never contacted me on it. And now we're having to deal with it because now these are all the changes that need to happen."
And that stuff's bad for the community when people do that. It's not running a business. And yeah, no, that they shouldn't be doing that. And I'm not speaking about anyone particular. I'm speaking completely in general that do not run a business like that. That's called like doing gift art in a sense.
Yeah, and it's like, and it's really frustrating because this specific person they call themselves a full-time artist, but it's like I don't know what that means anymore in the scope of your history with me because you refuse to make a Trello. You refuse to publicly show people your work. Like, you refuse to actually be a business.
And I'll say the surprising thing, as a customer, I'm willing to pay for the things that like cost you money to run the business. Like when I commission you, yes, I want a PayPal or whatever payment service invoice because that ties it to a product. Yeah, you pay fees. That should be in your price. Because then if you fuck up on your end, I have a very straightforward path to getting my money back through basically what's an arbiter there. And hopefully that also means you have a way of having something signed off on. Like put those bit costs in to the transactions. I expect that as a customer. Big
Yeah.
businesses do it.
Yeah, and you're almost alluding to like a terms of service.
Yeah,
And like
exactly.
that is also something I've directly suggested to this artist, and they refuse to make a terms of service.
Like you think when you go Target, the cost of that building, the cost of those employees, those checkout machines or registers, the light, everything there is somehow pieced out into the cost of the things they are selling you, with them still intended to make money. Like, yeah, that's a grand scale compared to like an art commission artist, but it is a thing to figure out because people expect you to be a business. I think I told you before, I was scared to commission anyone, especially through Twitter, because it just seemed like a lot of people only had horror stories. It seemed a lot fewer had actual like delivered things. The only people who usually saw posts that were the ones that had a spotlight on them to begin with. So why would I have trusted? And I've still to this day never commissioned anyone through Twitter. It's only been Blue Sky.
Oh, that's good. Like, yeah, it's like sometimes it's very hard to gauge people, specifically fucking artists that have content every single day. So if you see an artist that has content every single day, like almost like 3 to 4 times a day, what would your assumption be?
If they seem pretty prolific. That's how I feel about fursuit makers that post images of their completed or in progress work regularly. They're
Right, right.
completing what they're paid to do.
But that's not always the case. And it's really fucking weird with some of these artists because, like, and I've had a couple, and one of them was a big commission. It was one of the $300 ones where it was like, they're constantly posting every single day, constantly posting. And they were constantly getting commissions from other artists using their customer base money, right? So they're using the commission money as a credit card for their own commissions. And, before I commissioned them, I was under the impression that it was going to get done just because of how much art was coming from this artist and how much art they were commissioning. So I was like, oh, they're actually on board with it and they churn stuff out pretty fast. And the reality of that is like that turned into, 7 months, 8 months, 9 months where I never got anything. And I kept going back and forth to them, like, sending them messages, and I didn't even get a direct response back. Like, she made a fucking all-encompassing, like, global message to all of her customer base. And it's like, how disrespectful do you have to be to get to that point where you're not even going to address your customers individually? And yeah, I ended up asking for a refund, and somehow, for whatever reason, she actually agreed to it before I went and hit the chargeback request. Same artist that got charged back recently for not delivering.
Yeah.
But they constantly post art. I don't get it. It's like you have your assignments, you have your commissions, but you're here sitting making art for fun. Like, what?
Yeah, no, don't do that. I mean, everyone deserves a little bit of downtime, but you got to be delivering still. Okay, so
and Frosty has one, 100%, because it like recently happened with those little gifs of Frosty and Nitro.
Yeah, don't even remind me about that one.
Yeah, that person too
was posting like almost every hour artwork and was deliberately ignoring my art commission. So it's just like, all right, well, I see how it is.
Okay, so I'm gonna be vague here, but I do have a commission in right now, and the person I know they're struggling to like get some more to cover. Like, I think some things took longer. They had a convention that didn't go as well as they'd hoped in terms of sales. How long do you wait before you ask for a refund? Like, how overdue would you consider? I know they've taken new stuff that they've completed that were like small things, but I am wondering, like, how long do I wait before I wouldn't be able to like even charge back? Like, how long should I put in like
that's tricky.
That is tricky.
I want to give them time to respond or do something, after I reach out, and then I would charge back.
You definitely have to make a clear statement that you're considering a chargeback. If you don't get a response or a promise, a written promise, because you can use that as part of, a chargeback request, is like, hey, the product was never delivered, and here is in their own words that it wasn't completed.
Is that usually where you go through PayPal, or is that you have to go through your bank?
At that point, you'd probably have to do it to your bank if it's like far out.
Yeah. So that's the thing I'm curious.
That's the thing. It's like you're like trying to play against the like PayPal chargeback time frame. Because like a lot of these artists go way beyond the fucking time frame, which is why I generally don't agree with having to pay artists up front. But I understand why they ask upfront payment, because they've gotten scammed themselves.
It belongs in an escrow. And if you send them through stages, when you approve each stage, it unlocks the next or pays them for that. One of the two. And essentially, they would then be getting the money for the work done. And it would go same for fursuit makers too. Like, because I mean, anything that people are paying you money for is not an upfront loan. Because that's how we end up with these people in the hole and doing emergency comms, which then, as someone that's already in their queue, you start to wonder, like, hey, wait a minute, I paid already, and I might have paid you like $200. What's this doing to my job? Especially as you start seeing these supposed like emergency things or quick things coming out sooner. It's like, hold up, that might only been like 3 hours worth of work, 4 hours worth of work, but couldn't that some of that should have been on like the ones ahead of me or mine? Why is this not? What's going on?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and that's just people freaking out, because like you said, the landlord's gonna kick them out, so they panic and just do whatever the fuck they can, and they pretty much say, "Fuck my customer base, I need to take care of myself." So it just all gets thrown about, and to just do whatever they can to keep the honestly the pyramid scheme going, Ponzi scheme.
And that's when I say, yeah, because it's becoming that, that's when you should look at like other options, freeze new, don't take new stuff, work a job or something else, do these on the side, get through it. And when you're through it, reevaluate the feasibility of it. Because some of this stuff, even if you were damn good, it is sales on top of technical work, if not also creative work. And it's going to be time consuming. It's going to be hard. And you have a limited customer base. And so reality, I don't like the reality that, a lot of us are living in, but you have to go with it.
Yeah, unfortunately, like someone like me isn't gonna make a change when it comes to like the way these artists for hire behave. The only time I've actually seen anything like actually sort of change is when somebody steps on the wrong landmine. And for that example, it's like there's this person, like you said, was constantly taking on new commissions and wasn't delivering on their old ones, months to a year, and they finally stepped on the wrong landmine by disregarding the boyfriend of, what was it, Glitzy Fox's boyfriend. And then she made a fucking public statement, and all of a sudden she got fucking highlighted for being a shit artist.
I mean, the fandom really needs to stop supporting these artists and fursuit makers that do these bad practices. And I mean, I say fursuit makers, most of them I think anymore have gotten their shit together. There's still probably some that should not be getting more, but we should support the ones that deliver. Let's be honest. Support them, tip them, be good to them, and stop supporting these others. Like, but they need it. No, they're hurting the fandom. That's my tie-in there. Is it's hard to have a cohesive community when you can't trust the people that the community says to support, because so many others in the community that are getting highlighted aren't delivering, and people are content with it. Like a 4-year queue for a fursuit, there's no reason for it. You don't work on a suit for 4 years. So they shouldn't have suits that won't be delivered for 4 years.
That's the thing. Like, you should be at that point where you shouldn't be knocking out a fursuit every 3 months. I don't get it. Like,
well, and I know they work on some. They'll work on them concurrently, a handful, I think. But yeah, there's a point. Like I said, you shouldn't. One should not be. Whether it's art or suits, they shouldn't be sitting there for years, waiting to even be like remembered that you were paid for them.
Yeah. Yeah, because one fursuit every 3 months, that's 4 fursuits a year. So, I mean, you could say, oh, well, that does line up. It's like, but maybe that's just too slow. It's not a sustainable business.
No, that's a side hustle. You do that like for fun. That's like taking pictures of someone's kids or building a friend's business's website with WordPress or something. Um, you know, you might have good skills, but you're either slow or you're not committed enough. I mean, these are the kinds of jobs, if you're not working, you're not making money. But that also includes the marketing and balancing the books and other things.
But that's too much work. That's business. That's business class. That's
Yeah,
not what most people want to do.
no. But in the fandom, a lot of people are very ambitious about wanting to start a business.
Yeah,
It's the same thing with the same ones that want to get into making a video game. They bite off more than they can chew.
but there's a common theme, and the common theme is from home.
Oh, they want to work from home?
Yeah. Yeah, that's the common theme there.
Oh, there's the recruiting tactic for companies. They're all being dumb and wanting you to go in the office, and gee, a lot of people want to be from home.
From home. And that's the
Let
thing.
them work.
I could see a no, never mind. I was gonna say I could see a fursuit group working over like shipping lanes, but the truth is that like that doesn't work. Like you need to be in the same space for at least, a considerable amount of time for like group project sort of situations.
Well, let's run with that. I think some of them do work as a group, and I think in theory some of them could work separately. But yes, you will have to come together to bring pieces in, show people stuff, get your components and whatnot, your materials. But you are going to have to live probably ideally in a similar area. Otherwise, yeah, you have added the cost of shipping shit around, and
Yeah.
that's going to go into the base price for your customer. And if you increase that too much, you're back to the customer weighing, are you worth that extra 1,000 or two that you've tacked on because you're spending hundreds shipping shit around?
Yeah. That's like my thoughts of like making these prototypes. It's like, depending on how fucking heavy this fucking battery to power this thing, it's like I'm probably gonna end up losing all my fucking profits on just shipping.
That's why 3D printing helped revolutionize manufacturing to a degree. Is a lot of that prototyping they could do on site then instead of get it done and fabricated in a different state or in China or somewhere else, Germany, and then ship it to where the hell that needs to be reviewed and pieced with something else. And
Yeah.
the more you can do on site, sending a file does not cost anywhere near as much as a physical thing.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. It's like from home poses new logistic challenges because you're introducing a lot more shipping.
Traveling does too, but the distance, obviously. If you can find a place near you that can do that shit, that can simplify. Which is the same for these people who want to maybe get into fursuit making. Find people near you. You live near no furries and you want to make fursuits or things like you're talking about. Move, maybe.
No.
I know it's not cheap.
I want to live in my own house and be a full-time artist and have 23 pets.
The hell is it gonna smell?
Yeah, it's gotta smell like straight up zoo in there.
I don't think Frosty wants to clean that up.
Yeah, no.
I'm sorry,
Yeah.
it was actually 28. I misspoke. 23 was too low.
Oh yeah.
There are
28.
people who can make that work, but I think more often than not, you will know that house is having pets when you walk in.
Ew. Ew.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I'll guess you're right.
like
Go.
even having reptiles has its own smell.
There are people who make that work, and then there's everyone else.
Yeah. Gross.
And I don't know if there's this reference to anyone particular. I'm speaking generally.
No, I was referencing someone in particular.
I had a
It,
feeling,
it,
but I'm
it's
clarifying
it's
for me.
actually the same person who refuses to make a terms of service in a Trello.
Oh yeah, no. I remember having a conversation with a former coworker when we did work together about some stuff and business oriented, like launching web-based stuff. And he seemed a little surprised I was thinking of, but he was like, "Yeah, they were just talking about that in one of the company-wide things. Like when they started out, it was like two guys and then the lawyer they saved money to have for certain things." And I'm like, "Yep, starting a business. A lot of things are
Yeah.
a business. The second you take money or let other people use the thing you made." You gotta have terms, you gotta cover your ass, gotta look into that shit because you are liable.
Oh no. I have to pay consequences for my actions?
I know with the internet, that's a shock, right? It's almost like real people are typically who's using your shit.
Oh no. All right. Okay. We need to close this up. This somehow like shifted from talking about
Finally.
authenticity to like business course.
This is like the longest episode.
I'm
This,
sorry.
yeah. Yeah, we're typically not about talking about business, but it just happened. It spontaneously came up with, how intertwined it has become with the furry fandom, where people are seeking these gold mines, and it's really what it is. It's just like it's a gold rush. It really is a gold rush where people are just oversaturating the land, trying to find their little gold nuggets so that they can sell it off.
Because most things in the end up intertwined. It's hard
Yeah.
to completely separate, and so you just need an awareness of it before
Yeah,
it does
and
taint the good stuff.
yeah, and that's the thing. It's like the only way to like get that homegrown like weird furry experience is to like make smaller groups basically. Like you're not going to find it online, like not anymore.
Or you just have to split it off and not try to grow a thing into a platform. You're not gonna have a tight knit thing of 5,000 people. That's not tight knit.
Yeah, like all these fucking people trying to like elevate their friends group to like a con, and it's like, why are you trying to do that?
The people who even do like are known names, they do end up having to like cut things out, and it can be awkward and difficult when they're doing a room party and they have to pick who is allowed in or tell their friends you can't bring your other buddy because they're at capacity. And that happens with people's
Yeah,
personal bandwidth too.
yeah, yeah. I'm sure you've been in that situation. I'm sure.
Yes, clearly I am that popular. Yes, of course.
Yes, you've had to turn people down. I understand. Okay. Well, all right. Closing remarks. Yeah, I'm disappointed with the natural progression of things. It's just like it can't be saved. Unfortunately, I'm pessimistic about that one. But we can enjoy our time while it lasts, and we can possibly make smaller groups to try to weather the storm, weather the cataclysm. And I think that's really the only protection against all this like insanity and corruption is just trying to distance yourself away from trying to be everybody's friend to just trying to focus more on the local group, I guess, the closer people, the people that matter, I suppose. Not saying that that's not possible online, because you can have online friends that are closer or more open to discourse on a more serious level. Like it just doesn't happen out in the wild. Like you have to kind of really be selective about creating these situations yourself. And yeah, Frosty, that's it.
Yeah, I don't really have anything else.
I'm all burned out and I'm ready to get to bed,
Basically.
basically.
But I know he's need new friends, so hit me up. Yeah.
Yeah. Don't hit me up. Don't hit me up. I'm done.
Whoever goes to Nitro, come to me. I'm not burned out yet.
Yeah, I'll send them over and yeah. Evie.
Yep. Oh, closing.
Yeah, that's it.
Oh yeah. No, I would just say I think you hit it. I just think the big stuff is. I'm not pessimistic. I think the big stuff will be replaced by smaller and new stuff, and it's just about leaving the old broken way behind and reinventing what we have into what's going to work. And I think yeah, that will fail some too, but it's just about not standing still. We need to keep changing things. If something's not working, fix it, remove it. Don't feel like you are obligated to everything. And remember, everyone's friend is probably no one's friend. That 5,000, you can't have 5,000 close friends.
It's scary, crazy.
Mhm.
We're saying moving forward, just really quick. Like that sounds so difficult when you have all these like super massive platforms that seem like it's impossible to dethrone them. And I know we've talked about it where it's like, oh well, you think something's gonna come along that's gonna take out Twitch, something that's gonna come along take out uh, Facebook, take out fucking
YouTube,
Twitter,
Twitter.
YouTube, like basically all the big ones, all these fucking colossus. And I don't see it. I don't see it because like it just I
I'm an
don't know.
optimist. And you
Yeah,
know what?
I guess you're
We've
just
never
being an
had someone like
optimist.
Elon Musk. Never had someone like Elon Musk before. He's not a great creator. He's, I think, a low-key saboteur with things and doesn't know it.
No,
He,
he's very much a Steve Jobs. He's very
yeah,
much somebody who loves to take credit for engineers behind the scenes.
yes. And he might have
Like,
been smart at one point, but I think he's lost it from what I've heard of the drugs he's gotten into.
oh, I don't
But that's
know.
rumor. But it would explain shit.
Yeah, no, it's like no. That's what I really see him as. Just somebody that he that likes to take credit for somebody else's work.
I think we're going to see some shift in a lot of stuff because tech and other industries have had a issue of snake oil salespeople, a
Yeah,
lot of big talkers that are in just con artists, and I think there's going to eventually be a reckoning to some degree, and everything involved that relies on those platforms, furry included, will feel it,
good.
and it's just
I want to
be
see the
a
world burn. I'm sick and tired of the world.
just got to be ready to pick up. Don't
No,
lament something that you didn't actually own, you were just permitted to use.
I'm gonna
You
be
can miss
waiting right at the edge, waiting to headbutt you.
That's nicer than what I would do to Twitter if I could.
You're gonna be climbing up on the edge, thinking that you can finally see the sun, but I'm gonna be standing there, waiting, staring at you, ready for that. Bat, bat.
It's funny because if I were to see you in front clip, I'd smile and then you would Judas me there.
I have ended your suffering. Bat.
Wow.
I do love ending on a dark note.
A2 Nitro.
Yes. But for nobody that gets that reference, it's totally a fucking Party Animals reference. Because I am the guy that stands at the fucking edge waiting for people to come off. Because I am honestly sick and tired of having to throw people over the edge like 4 or 5 times.
And then you're also the guy that cries for help when someone's doing it to you.
It doesn't tell
Yes.
us where you are.
Yes.
Help!
I
I
need
need
help
help.
where?
I'm
Where
getting
are you?
guarded by the crocodile. Oh, where the fuck are you? You're halfway across the iceberg.
Look for the guy standing still by the edge. That's where I am. Literally every fucking time. Every time. Like
Every time.
cuz what I'll do is like I've stopped trying to risk the jump up. I'll just hang there. I'll just hang there waiting for one of you two to come by. And yeah, more often, like 90% of the time, people will just stand there staring at me, waiting for me to come up. But then I don't.
That's funny. That doesn't work in every level.
No. Yeah, because like sometimes you just kind of slip and die.
Or you're in ice water.
Yeah, that one is tricky because you kind of just freeze after like 5 seconds. But okay.
Meanwhile,
Meanwhile,
meanwhile they freeze after 60 seconds.
yeah, I don't. I think it's just server bias. It's just because we won too much, so we're getting big mega handicapped.
You're too good.
Big mega handicaps. Okay, good night, guys. Thanks for joining. If you did join, obviously the recording was gonna be there. This is episode 7, the state of the furry fandom. We covered a lot because we kind of just gave a general overview about the entire fandom, not just like specifics. But yeah, if you made it all the way over here, wow, that is amazing. Because like most podcasts only go for like 1 hour, and I think we're at like 2.5. So I
No, we're
appreciate it.
coming up on like 4 hours.
No way.
Yeah.
No way. I don't believe you. No
It
fucking way.
says we started streaming 3 hours ago, but that's been 3 hours for like the last like 45 minutes.
Holy moly, it's 3 hours 55 minutes. Holy shit.
I knew
Yeah,
it.
okay. So this is the longest episode we've ever done. It's like the 4-hour episode on the state of the furry fandom. So, yeah, this is super long form. This is almost like a small audiobook is what it is. So, if you made it to the end cap here, reward yourself. Go get some ice cream, go get some pizza or something. Like, you did good. Congratulations. I'm Nitro Wolf, your host of Wolf Radio. Frosty in second. And in third today, we had Wolf, Evie. Thank you for joining. Thank you for listening. Like I said, if you made it this far, feel free to like and subscribe, and we'll have more content for you that's as authentic as possible without getting too crazy. All right. Good night. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Holy moly.